Before the academy, Fan feels the pressure mounting due to the upcoming exam. The mentor reminds them that their destiny is already linked to the first beast. Students in the hallway share their worries about their precarious future. An arrogant young man boasts of his strength while humiliating a weaker classmate. The protagonist is little concerned about the upcoming test, because it hides a secret. Just a week ago, the guy moved into this body from another world. Memories of the cataclysm that destroyed everything surface in his mind. Humanity survived by learning to tame and use monsters in battle. Thus was born a new era in which the world is ruled by beastmasters. Pets have now become not just weapons, but a symbol of status and power. The golden egg in the hero's hands symbolizes the cherished dream of every young man to become an elite beastmaster. At the age of 18, one can obtain the first imperial beast, whose strength depends on the spiritual power of the owner. However, instead of a powerful beast, the protagonist received a harmless and weak creature, having entered into a contract with it. The powerlessness of his little snowball, incapable even of evolving, deprives the boy of hope for a great future. Overwhelmed by despair, the young man realizes that the fate of an ordinary outcast awaits him while others shine. The mocking high school student maliciously reminds Lindsay that he will not become a beastmaster. The bullying continues, with the boy being offered to sell ice cream with his useless snowball, causing his anger. Suddenly, a system message appears in front of the stunned guy about the successful activation of the mysterious system. Lindsay is overjoyed to see his characteristics and the confirmation of the system's operation, which foreshadows radical changes. A sly grin appears on the hero's face as he explores the features of the achievement system, which opens up new possibilities. Unexpectedly, the system unlocks Snowball's potential, promising evolution at full growth. Doubts gripped the young man, because he was sure of the complete hopelessness of his beast. Lindsay is faced with an incredible choice between two powerful paths for his pet to develop. The stunned young man assumes that a secret path of evolution has been revealed to him, inaccessible to others. Hope flares up in the boy's soul, because now his dream of becoming a beastmaster is real. Without hesitation, the hero chooses the graceful path of the queen, anticipating the future power of his beast. Having received the first reward points, the young man immediately pours them into his pet, starting the process. The flow of energy completes the transformation, and his little beast reaches the peak of its growth. With a satisfied grin, the guy holds his updated pet, ready for the next stages of its development. Joy turns to bewilderment when he notices that his beast is still at the lowest F rank. The next stage of evolution requires rare and expensive materials, which becomes a serious test for the hero. On his way out of class, Lindsay runs into Zhang Hao again, who doesn't miss the opportunity to humiliate him. Ignoring the offender, the young man calmly encourages his pet, because tomorrow will decide their fate. The word trash thrown out in response infuriates Zhang Hao, and his face distorts with anger. With icy calm, the protagonist accepts the challenge, promising to show in practice who is the real loser. The hooligans burst into laughter, ridiculing the very idea that such a weakling could qualify. Suddenly, a striking girl intervenes in the conflict, urging the arrogant guy to moderate his ardor. Taken aback, the bully sarcastically suggests that Madame Guan is protecting the scum out of sympathy. Lindsay stops the intercessor, mysteriously promising that everything will soon become clear to everyone. Once at the store, the young man sighs heavily, because the price of the items he needs seems prohibitive. Having spent all his savings, Lindsay feels the bitterness of a desperate bet on the future. Anying suddenly appeared and warmly conveyed to him an invitation to dinner from her mother. The girl with a flirtatious smile invites him to stick together for tomorrow's test. Her eyes light up with delight at his agreement, anticipating the opportunity to wipe Zhang Hao's nose. The protagonist confidently promises to surprise everyone, leaving the intrigued girl to wait until tomorrow. Returning home, the young man looks with a heavy heart at the treasures he bought, which cost him a fortune. With bated breath, he offers little Snowball to absorb the materials needed for the transformation. A bright flash of energy envelops the pet, and the boy realizes with trepidation that real evolution has begun. The blinding light makes the young man close his eyes, feeling the incredible power of this moment. When the glow fades, a completely new humanoid creature appears before the shocked Lindsay. His beast's new form, the Ice Spirit, is striking in its grace and opens the way to incredible power. Clenching his fist, Lindsay triumphantly pronounces the name of his new, powerful ally. The guy is amazed that his pet instantly jumped up an entire rank, breaking all known laws. The freezing cold emanating from the evolved beast proves more powerful than all his wildest expectations. The system generously rewards him for his first evolution, granting him points and a valuable power-up stone. With a snap of his fingers, the young man activates the reward, receiving 2 mystical artifacts for self-improvement. He will have to strengthen both his spiritual power and his physical shell, which is extremely important for survival. By absorbing the energy of the stones, the protagonist feels his own body and soul being reborn along with the beast. The piercing cold no longer has power over him, for now his own strength has increased many times over. With one blow, he crushes the wall, realizing that physical strength will become his trump card in a dangerous world. The charming ice spirit tenderly embraces his master as he decides to use the accumulated points with a grin. The guy pours all his available energy into the pet, instantly raising its level to the maximum. The ice spirit transforms once again, taking on an even more menacing and cold appearance, ready for battle. With a predatory grin, the young man looks forward to the day when he will crush everyone's expectations. The next morning, Anying cheerfully greets the hero, who exudes unshakable confidence in his abilities. The girl is genuinely pleased by his sudden fighting spirit, which she had not noticed in him before. Linza only smiled mysteriously, hinting that the former weakling no longer existed. The appearance of a guy with the most beautiful girl in school causes a wave of bewilderment and envy among his classmates. The arrogant Guan Ning looks at them with disdain while her friend gossips about her popularity. In his thoughts, the young man reveals that this genius is his cousin, whose fame evokes more than just admiration. Anying looks at Lindsay with distrust, doubting his decision to participate with such a weak pet. With a beaming smile, the young man firmly confirms his intention, surprising his girlfriend. The girl playfully hugs the guy, offering to celebrate their future joint success. A stranger suddenly appears and reproachfully accuses Anying of stealing her boyfriend. With cold indifference, the heroine cannot even remember who they are talking about, which angers her rival even more. It turns out that the persistent suitor she rejected has now become the cause of this ridiculous conflict. The jealous girl becomes furious, not understanding how anyone could choose a scumbag over her boyfriend. Not wanting to waste time on empty arguments, the protagonist calmly leads his companion away. The enraged blonde rudely blocks their path, standing up for the honor of his offended sister. Anying's face darkened with anger, and she ordered the insolent man to take his hands off her in an icy tone. The enraged blonde man swings his weapon in rage, intending to punish the impudent girl. Linza, with a calm expression, stopped his powerful blow with a slight movement, shocking everyone around him. The bully's sister screams in horror, not believing that anyone could stop her supposedly invincible brother. The arrogant young man sneers contemptuously, considering the hero's attempt to protect the girl pathetic and powerless. With one movement, the protagonist throws the enemy away, causing his sister to scream his name in panic. With icy calm, the young man declares that as an older brother, he will not allow anyone to harm Anying. The girl stands in complete stupor, unable to comprehend where her friend got such incredible strength from. Even the young man himself is surprised by his increased power, feeling the energy flowing through his arms. The enemy, thrown to the ground, looks at the hero with hatred, unable to accept his humiliating defeat. Gathering the last of his strength, the blonde prepares for a new attack, not intending to give up so easily. The enemy summons their beast, a mighty second-tier twilight wolf that emits an icy aura. With a smug grin, the blonde boasts of his pet's strength, ready to crush the pathetic high school students. Anying knows their chances are slim, but her hand flares with energy as it's too late to retreat. The girl looks at her friend with concern, fearing that he is going to put his weak snowball into battle. Lindsay reassures her with a confident smile, reminding her that the injury could cost him his future. The bully's sister bursts into malicious laughter, inciting her brother to teach the school's weakest student a lesson. At the command of the owner, the huge wolf rushes into the attack, intending to tear apart his opponents. Completely calm, the protagonist concentrates a stream of icy energy in his hand, ready for the meeting. He summons his ice spirit, who is enveloped in a powerful aura, overwhelming everyone with his power. In the blink of an eye, his pet creates an exact ice copy of the wolf, which rushes towards the original. Lindsay smiles and tells a stunned Anying that her beloved snowball has evolved. The ice clone easily overpowers the twilight wolf, causing its master to retreat in panic. Under a hail of ice shards, the hero solemnly names his pet with a new name, Ice Spirit. The enemy is furious and can't believe that his second-rank elite beast has fallen to the hands of an ordinary disciple. Realizing his fatal mistake and underestimating the enemy's strength, the blonde decides to escape immediately. The protagonist's gaze turns icy as he blocks the hooligan's path, preventing them from leaving. In an instant, all the bully's arrogance flies off, and he humbly bows and begs for forgiveness. With cold contempt, the young man hints that it is not to him that he should be apologizing. The guy immediately rushes to Anying, begging her for mercy and to teach him a lesson in good manners. Without waiting for his sister's reaction, the blonde man rudely forces her to bow her head and apologize for her behavior. Having obtained a humiliating apology, the hero magnanimously lets go of his offenders, ending the conflict. When the threat has passed, the boy gently strokes his pet, and the icy blades around them melt. Anying, delighted, throws himself on his friend's neck, showering him with questions about the incredible victory and the secret of evolution. Calmly accepting the praise, the young man reminds his friend of her main goal, because the decisive exam is already close. They arrive at the majestic building of the association, where the fate of every future Beastmaster is decided. In the center of the hall stands a mysterious stele, emitting a weak energy, attracting the hero's attention. In a crowd of future students, a young man examines an ancient artifact, not seeing anything remarkable in it at first glance. The weight of this day weighs heavily on his shoulders, as failure will forever block his path to his dream. The examiner announces a ranking system, where only the highest score will open the doors to the elite. Students are faced with their first choice: take a risk for a great reward, or take the safe path. Students heatedly discuss the difficulty of the levels, as even the lowest rank opens the way to becoming a Beastmaster. Anying looks at Lindsay with excitement, waiting for his fateful decision on which everything depends. The examiner sternly reminds them that this choice will determine their future, urging them to balance their ambitions with their strengths. The crowd erupts in a roar as the super level on the stele lights up, and everyone's eyes search for this crazy daredevil. With a slight grin, the protagonist clutches the token, realizing that in the eyes of those around him, he has just signed his own death warrant. Anying clutches his friend in horror, as failure at this difficulty level will ruin his chance to enter university. Maintaining an unshakable calm, the young man assures her that he is perfectly aware of his capabilities. Behind his back, mocking whispers are heard, calling the guy an idiot for such a reckless act. Even the examiner approaches him with a silent reproach, reminding him of his warning to choose wisely. An unwavering Lindsay firmly states that his decision was carefully weighed, shocking everyone. The examiner looks at the young man with icy disbelief, doubting his ability to pass the deadly test. With a condescending grin, the man leaves the presumptuous boy alone with his fateful choice. When all bets are placed, the examiner solemnly announces the beginning of the merciless exam. A bright flash of light envelops the students, transporting their consciousness into a brutal world of trials. Observing the stele, the man notes Lindsay's name with interest, intrigued by his audacity. The hero finds himself in an unknown world, similar to an ancient Colosseum, ready for the upcoming battles. The important rule about safety in this dimension gives him even more confidence in his abilities. The young man warms up with a fighting spirit, because now he can fight without fear of consequences. Suddenly, a system window pops up in front of him, rewarding him for the victory he achieved even before the exam began. A sly smile appears on the guy's face, because his secret trump card works even here. Having received a generous reward, the hero immediately decides to invest all his points into his ice spirit. The pet's strength increases dramatically, jumping over several levels and significantly increasing its combat potential. The first opponent appears in the arena, the fire-toad warrior, ready to incinerate anyone in his path. The young man looks at the weak monster with bewilderment, doubting that this test is worthy of a super high level. Wasting no time, the fiery creature unleashes a stream of searing flames at him, intending to end the fight in one blow. At the command of the master, the ice spirit creates a hail of sharp ice needles that rush towards the fiery attack. Two opposing elements collide in a deafening explosion, filling the arena with steam and shards of ice. In an instant, the pitiful monster is completely frozen, turning into an ice statue from the devastating attack. With a slight grin, the protagonist states his obvious victory, as this was only the first of 5 stages. When the defeated enemy disappears, a new passage opens, and the guy confidently moves towards the next trials. Behind the next door, a terrible necromancer awaits the hero, ready to devour his soul. The young man understands that for anyone else this fight would have been the last. But for him this is just a light warm-up, and he easily crushes the undead. The supervising examiner attributes his success to simple luck, anticipating inevitable failure. The second stage has been completed, but an even more deadly test lies ahead behind the next bars. A new enemy, a tree monster, emerges from the shadows, its power far surpassing that of the previous one. The examiner watches with a grin, confident that a first-rank beast would not be able to defeat such an opponent. Lindsay notes with alarm the monster's impenetrable bark, which nullifies its ice attacks. Powerful tree vines crush the ground, demonstrating the incredible strength of the new enemy. In an instant, his little ice spirit finds himself in a deadly trap, caught in tenacious vines. The examiner smirks smugly, confident that the newcomer will not be able to pass this test. The tree monster is in agony trying to escape from the icy trap that has frozen its movements. Freed from captivity, the ice spirit creates a new, even more powerful ice sphere. With a sly grin, the young man reveals his trump card, because his pet's arsenal is not limited to one attack. Sharp ice spikes pierce the monster's thick bark, dealing devastating damage from within. One precise and powerful blow pierces the enemy, leaving him no chance. The third level is completed, but 2 more await, and hundreds of hungry eyes lurk behind the next gate. Meanwhile, other students return from their trials, exhausted and nearly dead. One of them recalls in horror how strong the monster turned out to be even on the easiest difficulty level. The other one rejoices with happiness, because he has passed the test and can now proudly bear the title of Master of Beasts. The crowd watches the steely in shock, unable to understand how a second-rank beast could appear at this stage. Inside the test, the young man easily passes the 4th level, defeating another ice monster. Leaving behind the defeated enemy, the protagonist confidently walks towards the last final test. Students cannot hide their admiration, wondering who this unknown genius is. Anying returns after her successful exam, but her joy is immediately replaced by concern for her friend. The girl looks at the seething crowd in bewilderment, not understanding what has caused such a stir. Realizing that everyone's excitement was due to Lindsay's incredible success, she froze in amazement. The final boss appears in the arena, a wild saber-toothed lion whose aura inspires primal terror. Seeing such a formidable beast, the spectators and Anying are horrified, considering this test to be certain death for the newcomer. However, the guy only smiles predatorily, because he has finally met a truly worthy opponent. The first attack of ice shards shatters against an invisible barrier, causing no harm to the enemy. The examiner watches with cold interest, acknowledging the young man's strength but doubting his ultimate success. The guy understands that brute force won't help here, because the outcome of the battle depends on many hidden factors. His pet is already exhausted from previous battles, while the saber-toothed lion is full of strength and fury. The wild beast's burning eyes reflect confidence in an easy victory over a weakened enemy. The huge beast rushes to attack, and the young man orders his spirit to prepare, waiting for the perfect moment. At the last second, when the lion's claws are ready to tear his pet apart, the hero gives the order to counterattack. Suddenly, the image on the stele goes out, causing the crowd to freeze in anxious bewilderment. The mighty lion reels back with a roar of pain as dozens of ice spikes pierce his back. The examiner is shocked to realize that the young man's beast is no less powerful than the lion, meaning he had been hiding his power all this time. The enraged lion rushes forward, ignoring the wounds he has received. The ice spirit responds with a powerful stream of icy energy, rushing straight into the sky. However, the beast lands easily on the icy surface, its grin promising quick reprisal. Lindsay is alarmed to realize that his attacks are nearly useless against a monster with an innate resistance to cold. An unexpected system message about a new achievement opens up a completely new opportunity for the young man. The skill unlock feature becomes his secret trump card, because the more skills he has, the more sophisticated his combinations. The guy frantically analyzes the situation, realizing that he desperately lacks powerful control to win. The massive beast is trapped in an icy vortex, its roar shaking the arena. Suddenly, the ice spirit is enveloped in a bright glow, his power and rank rapidly increasing during the battle. The crowd watches the transformation in bewilderment, as no one has ever seen a beast level up without gaining experience. With a sly grin, the young man accepts his new power, seeing it as a real cheat code for victory. He gives the command, and the ice spirit uses a completely new skill, ice chains. The mighty lion finds himself in icy shackles that completely restrict his movements, making him unable to attack. Without giving the enemy time to recover, Lindsay immediately commands the use of the now familiar ice spikes. The audience and the examiner are in complete shock, unable to understand what unknown skill was just applied. The mentor screams in rage, because using 3 skills with 1 pet violates all known laws of this world. Despite the powerful combination, the lion's thick skin withstands the blow, albeit with difficulty. The ice spirit, with a mischievous smile, prepares to deliver a crushing final blow. The entire arena turns into a giant ice wall, which buries the mighty beast underneath it. The system announces his triumphant victory, and Anying jumps up and down in delight, celebrating his friend's incredible success. The crowd erupts in disbelief, refusing to believe in his victory and suspecting deception. Even an experienced examiner admits that in his life, he has never met such an imperturbable and brilliant young man. In the rays of golden light, the hero receives a colossal boost to his stats as a reward for his triumph. His loyal ice spirit also receives a significant buff, gaining 3 powerful new skills. The incredible reward for completing the super level grants him a rare opportunity to enter into a contract with a second beast. Now he faces the difficult choice of a new pet, and he realizes it's time to head to the pet store. The training is over, the reward is received, and the young man's consciousness begins to return to the real world. Upon his return, he immediately finds himself the center of attention of a stunned crowd eager for answers. Anying throws herself on his neck with a joyful cry, because her faith in him has been fully rewarded. The examiner approaches him, respectfully acknowledging his mistake and admiring his true strength. The crowd watches in amazement as the authoritative examiner apologizes to the ordinary student. The man offers Lindsay a unique chance to join the elite association without having to go through all the exams. Those around him are shocked, because such an opportunity is an impossible dream even for the best graduates. The young man understands that this offer promises him a huge advantage and frees him from financial difficulties. However, he also realizes that such a gift will come at the cost of his freedom and future. To everyone's surprise, the boy politely but firmly declines the offer, preferring to complete his studies. An impudent student tries to take his place, but the examiner dismisses him with contempt. With a shrewd smile, the mentor admits that with his potential, the young man can achieve much more. As he leaves Lindsay an open invitation, promising his help at any time. Before the crowd had time to disperse, the most beautiful girl from the neighboring class, Lu Xiaoqian, approached him. Lu Xiaoqian's friend Guan Yu pushes her to quickly get the contacts of the newly minted genius. Without a hint of embarrassment, the girl approaches Lindsay, coquettishly offering to exchange contacts for future meetings. Irritated by such intrusive attention, the young man tries to leave with the dissatisfied Anying. However, the persistent beauty is not going to give up and rushes after them throughout the corridor. Suddenly, the hero is called into the office by the teacher, who has already heard about his incredible triumph. Miss Chen, in a burst of pride, embraces the stunned boy in a steely embrace. After letting him go, she takes out a mysterious book, revealing the true reason for their meeting. This book turns out to be an essential guide to training the spirit, the basis of any ruler's strength. Soul magic is no less a formidable weapon than the pets themselves, and is the hallmark of a true master. The teacher explains that this power allows one not only to strengthen animals, but also to protect oneself in battle. Gratefully accepting the priceless gift, the young man is eager to begin training immediately. Returning home, he immerses himself in studying the basics of soul magic, striving to master its power as quickly as possible. Just 10 minutes later, his body is already enveloped in a powerful spiritual aura, and his eyes shine with newfound energy. The guy is shocked to realize his incredible talent, because he mastered in minutes what takes others months. The system immediately rewards him for the new achievement, offering to instantly improve the skill he just learned. Without thinking, the young man decides to spend the points he received to double his spiritual protection. His spiritual shield instantly evolves to rank 3, enveloping him in a dense dome of energy. With a satisfied grin, he feels the increased power, because now his defense is able to protect his allies as well. However, the boy understands that everything has its price, and each use of the shield will deplete his spiritual power. Suddenly he remembers the unused soul stone, anticipating another significant boost. Having absorbed the stone, the hero feels his spiritual power soar to unprecedented heights. Realizing that it is foolish to waste such power only on defense, the young man decides to expand his combat arsenal. He creates a thin spiritual arrow that, although weak, hits its target with incredible accuracy. The guy then concentrates a completely different striking energy in his fist, preparing for a new test. A powerful shockwave erupts from his fist, demonstrating the destructive power of his new skill. The impact leaves a deep crack in the wall, but the price for such power is 3 times higher. Pleased with the result, he receives a valuable reward from the system for successfully mastering 3 types of magic. The young man decides to save the priceless restoration potion for the event of mortal danger. Without wasting any time, the hero immediately invests achievement points into improving his new attack skills. Satisfied with the work done, he falls onto the bed, already making plans for tomorrow and buying a second pet. The next day, the young man goes to the task center, where anyone can make money using their abilities. Filled with confidence in his new strength, Lindsay is ready to take on his first real task. Without thinking, he chooses the most profitable task, aiming for maximum earnings. However, the system makes its own adjustments, forcibly assigning him to a team and cutting his future reward. Having received the coordinates, the guy goes to the indicated place, the Chujuchun Canyon, at the appointed time. Arriving at the place, he sees 3 beastmasters who are already impatiently waiting for him. Zhang Lei looks at the newcomer with disdain, showing his disdain for his young age from the very first seconds. His teammate, Zhao Minhui, also doesn't hide his disappointment that they were given an inexperienced graduate to join their team. Only their charming companion, Wan Xiaoyun, tries to ease the growing tension with a smile. The girl takes the initiative, inviting the hero to follow her deep into the dangerous canyon. Lindsay plays along with his new acquaintances with feigned modesty, which makes the girl feel touched. The rough strongman immediately cuts off the flirtation, reminding them of the seriousness of the mission and the danger of losing their lives. He arbitrarily appoints himself as leader, threatening to cut the newcomer's share if he does not obey. In his thoughts, The protagonist notes with disdain that these losers were never able to get into the prestigious academy. Hiding his true thoughts, the young man enthusiastically agrees to all the conditions, earning praise for his ingenuity. The team ventures deeper into the dark caves of the canyon, preparing to face a swarm of dangerous monsters. In the darkness, countless furry beetles with glowing eyes are already waiting for them. Having discovered the lair, the hero calmly clarifies his plan of action, as if he is not at all intimidated by the number of enemies. Zhao Minhui summons his mighty second-rank rhinoceros, ready to ram through any obstacle. Not to be outdone, Zhonglei also summons his pet, a deadly praying mantis, ready to shred enemies. Wan Xiaoyun summons his giant bee, patronizingly advising the newcomer to stay behind. Linza decides not to interfere, coldly assessing the real abilities of his smug partners. Hordes of beetles rush towards them with a buzzing sound, creating a living wall of chitin and mandibles. The mighty rhinoceros slams into the thick of enemies, mercilessly scattering them with its glowing horn. Zhang Lei, with a smug grin, attracts attention to himself, eager for glory in this battle. Wan Xiaoyun enthusiastically sends his bee into attack, not allowing his partner to take all the laurels for himself. The bee releases a swarm of electrified stingers that easily pierce the tough shells of beetles. Meanwhile, the praying mantis gracefully cuts through the air, slicing flying creatures into pieces with its sharp blades. Zhang Lei mockingly boasts about their coordinated work, humiliatingly suggesting that the young man simply stand and admire. The girl promises to share the reward with him, as with a helpless child who is being taught a free lesson. Lindsay watches the senseless attacks with cold disdain, realizing that they are missing the main threat. A sudden piercing sound makes Wan Xiaoyun freeze in horror, sensing an impending disaster. Zhang Lei screams in panic as reinforcements emerge from deep within the cave, turning their easy victory into a death trap. By maintaining an icy calm, the young man only confirms his worst fears about the hidden danger in the lair. Even the mighty rhinoceros roars in agony, completely immobilized by the wave of paralyzing sound and the swarm of beetles. All three mighty beasts find themselves helpless, completely subjugated to the will of a mysterious enemy from the depths. Former self-confidence is replaced by animal fear, as partners desperately try to recall their pets. The protagonist reveals the terrible truth about the paralyzing sound that has rendered their animals useless puppets. The girl is overcome with icy despair when she realizes that they are left defenseless in the face of imminent death. All of Zhang Lei's anger and fear falls upon the young man, whom he accuses of deliberate silence. Lindsay coldly reminds his panicking teammates that they should be worrying about their own lives now, not their pets. Countless hordes of beetles rush towards them like an avalanche, leaving no chance for salvation. Zhao Minhui screams in horror that they must run, as this deadly mission is beyond their capabilities. In a panic, the strongman runs away, trying to save his own skin and leaving his comrades to certain death. At the last moment, an impenetrable dome flares up around them, repelling the deadly attacks of the beetles. Zhang Lei is amazed to recognize the shield as soul magic, a secret technique available only to the Academy's elite. Tired of their useless panic, the young man orders them to shut up and just stand behind him. Without wasting another second, the hero finally summons his faithful ice spirit, ready for a real battle. His partners stare in complete amazement at the unprecedented pet, whose aura amazes the imagination. The guy notes with a grin that these monsters have a fatal weakness, a complete lack of intelligence and tactics. With a predatory grin, the protagonist declares that his third-rank ice spirit possesses exactly what these monsters lack. His pet releases a powerful wave of icy energy, creating exact replicas of the bugs out of pure ice. In an instant, the entire army of monsters is frozen, turning into lifeless ice statues. With icy calm, the young man suggests to his partners that they call off their pets while there is still time. However, to save their animals, they will have to pay a high price, to give up the entire reward for the task. Without a second's hesitation, the strong man and the girl agree to his conditions, begging him to return their pets to them. Only Zhang Lei, in a rage, refuses to obey, accusing the boy of imagining himself to be the legendary Lin Ze. With an inscrutable expression on his face, the hero calmly confirms that he is the much-talked-about genius. Hearing this, Wan Xiaoyun immediately changes his tone and breathlessly asks the legendary hero to save their pets. But her partner continues to persist, distrustfully demanding that their animals be immediately released and that his share be returned to him. Unable to bear his partner's stupidity, the enraged strongman knocks him out with one blow. Realizing his blindness, Zhao Minhui admits that they were sorely mistaken about this guy. The young man coldly reminds them that their time is running out, and soon the icy prison will collapse, releasing the monsters. Wan Xiaoyun realizes with horror that freezing is only a temporary measure against the immortal swarm. From the top of the ice block, the hero announces his daring plan: to capture the leader single-handedly. Lying on the ground, a defeated Zhang Lei watches in disbelief as this brat walks to his death. Without wasting a second, the protagonist fearlessly jumps into the abyss, shrouded in darkness and frozen creatures. In the darkness of the cave, his enhanced vision allows him to see every detail, confirming his superhuman abilities. A true nightmare approaches him from the darkness. A giant swarm queen, whose gaze promises only death. The monster's attacks are helplessly smashed against his spiritual barrier, demonstrating the hero's absolute invulnerability. Under the onslaught of the endless swarm, the young man understands that his spiritual shield will not last long. Suddenly, the system offers him a saving solution, opening access to 2 new ice skills. His ice spirit instantly masters new abilities, gaining the power to launch a devastating counterattack. Now his pet can defend itself, which frees the hero's hands to prepare the perfect combination. At his command, the ice puppet begins to gather the elements around itself, preparing the ground for an ultimate attack. A wave of extreme cold instantly freezes the entire cave, turning it into an icy arena of death. Activating his spiritual shield, he notes with satisfaction that the ice element is fully prepared for his command. He gives the order, and in the hands of his pet, a new icy comet is born, carrying within itself absolute destruction. A blinding flash of light tears through the darkness, and a powerful explosion wipes out dozens of monsters. The young man admires the result with a satisfied smile, as his new explosive skill has exceeded all expectations. Destroying the bugs one by one, the young man realizes that this is the ideal place to quickly level up his pet. The progress bar has almost reached its maximum, and he is eagerly waiting for his puppet to reach a new level. A sudden rumble from the depths of the cave interrupts his training, announcing the appearance of the lair's true master. Outside, the girl, in a panic, insists on calling for help, fearing for the life of the hero remaining inside. But her selfish partner indifferently rejects this idea, believing that the boy himself is to blame for his fate. Suddenly, a mysterious stranger appears at the entrance to the canyon, calling himself Bronze Sorcerer Lo Da. Zhao Minhui, horrified, tries to stop him, warning him of the danger lurking ahead. Seeing the bronze mark on his arm, the teammates are shocked to realize that they are facing an elite beastmaster. Lo Da confirms his status with a grin, explaining that the association sent him to deal with this anomaly. Wan Xiaoyun enthusiastically offers his assistance to the powerful cultivator, hoping for his protection and patronage. Smiling indulgently, Luo Da allows the girl to go with him, but categorically forbids her useless companions from following him. The companions recoil in horror, not daring to contradict the powerful spellcaster and fearing his wrath. Meanwhile, Lindsay receives a generous reward from the system for destroying hundreds of bugs, including a unique power-up card. The title of Conqueror of 100 Beasts sounds ominous, but the reward is too good to refuse. Through continuous battles, his ice puppet finally reaches rank 3, becoming one step closer to its true form. Suddenly, a giant praying mantis invader emerges from the darkness, its size and aura instilling primal terror. The young man realizes with alarm that this monster has recently evolved, becoming much stronger than expected. The monster's roar shakes the cave, and the system confirms its mortal danger. Rank 4, First Class. Despite the mortal threat, greed takes over, and the guy decides to risk everything for a huge reward. Suddenly, a mysterious stone golem intervenes in the battle, sending the mantis flying with a crushing blow. Wan Xiaoyun is relieved to see that Lindsay is alive, and Luo Da hugs her carefully. The protagonist, with cold indifference, asks why the girl returned to the very heart of hell. The arrogant sorcerer dismissively brushes him off, dismissing him as a useless brat. Luo Da reveals that this praying mantis is a legendary king, capable of controlling an entire swarm of insects. Unwilling to give up his prey, the young man decisively blocks the spellcaster's path, claiming the boss as his own. Irritated by such insolence, the elite overlord asks with a menacing voice if he knows who he is talking to. A mighty stone giant appears behind him, and Loda asks with disdain who he is. Suddenly, ice shackles bind his pet's hand, demonstrating incredible speed and attack power. With icy calm, the guy introduces himself, stating his name, which is already thundering throughout the academy. Hearing this, Luo Da is surprised to recognize his talent, but immediately boasts of his vast combat experience. By boldly agreeing with Luo Da's boasting, Lindsay only adds fuel to the fire of his bruised ego. While the two males are testing their strength, the girl screams in horror, because the real enemy is already behind them. Tired of empty talk, Luo Da decides to demonstrate real power by using spirit magic. His stone giant erupts with a fiery aura, instantly raising its rank to level 4. Lindsay recognizes this technique as spirit magic as the giant's enhanced fist rushes forward. With a condescending grin, Luo Da explains that it is the ability to enhance skills that distinguishes the elite from the novices. Without wasting any time, the enraged King Mantis delivers a crushing blow with its horn. Once enraged, the monster becomes even more dangerous, its strength reaching the peak of rank 4. Forgetting their differences, both men simultaneously unleash the power of their ice shackles and spiritual blade on the enemy. The combined attack hits its target, and Lindsay hugs his pet close in relief. Powerful ice chains entangle the Mantis King, but his rage only grows stronger from the pain. Lo Da's attack knocks the monster back, but his stone giant takes heavy damage in return. The girl screams in panic that she needs to run, because even an elite ruler cannot defeat this monster. Gritting his teeth, Luo Da reluctantly agrees to a tactical retreat to regroup and come up with a new plan. However, Lindsay decisively blocks their path, declaring that he will finish off this monster himself. The spellcaster shouts at the guy in rage, considering him suicidal, because even his strengthened giant was powerless. With icy calm, the young man reminds him of his own words about the difference in advanced enhancement techniques. Not understanding his plan, Luo Da looks with suspicion at the guy who is confidently walking towards his death. With one click, the hero activates his secret card, and his body is enveloped in a golden aura of incredible power. The spellcaster looks at him in horror, unable to believe that this newbie also possesses the secret enhancement technique. Under the effect of a buff card, Ice Spirit evolves, becoming enveloped in a blinding radiance of pure power. Luo Da and Wan Xiaoyun retreat in horror, unable to believe what is happening right before their eyes. The new buff temporarily raises your pet's rank to 4, granting it power capable of crushing a king. As if defying death itself, the young man fearlessly flies towards the giant praying mantis. His pet creates super powerful ice shackles that can completely bind even an enraged king. The boy understands that with his new strength he won't be able to control his pet for long, and he needs to act quickly. Without wasting a second, he unleashes the full force of his spirit attack on the immobilized monster. With a furious cry, he puts all his energy into one crushing blow because time is running out. His enhanced fist pierces the tough chitinous armor, dealing the king a fatal blow. Luo Da panics and screams at him to stop, as further use of spiritual power will lead to certain death. Ignoring the warnings, the young man calmly states that he has only used half of his spiritual power. Luo Da is completely stunned and can't believe that such a huge reserve of spiritual power is even possible. Hope lit up Wan Xiaoyun's eyes, as this incredible young man could truly defeat the monster. The empowered pet unleashes its most powerful attack, Ice Star, on the Mantis King. The explosion tears apart the monster's body, and Luo Da, horrified, assumes that its remains are unlike anything he's ever seen before. The spellcaster recalls an ancient legend about 5 divine beasts that disappeared without a trace after the Great War. Images of legendary creatures float through his mind, hinting at the incredible origins of Lindsay's pet. Seeing that the time for strengthening is running out, the hero concentrates all the remaining spiritual power in his hand. His pet prepares a final devastating attack, creating a hail of razor-sharp ice spears. In a final sprint, he and his pet combine forces, unleashing a deadly combination of fire and ice on the enemy. The charred corpse of the Mantis King falls to the ground, and the system solemnly declares his death. Wan Xiaoyun shouts in delight about his victory, while Luo Da can hardly believe that some brat stole all the glory from him. Gently hugging his pet, Lindsay rejoices at its new level and the possibility of its rapid evolution. Progress has reached its maximum, and now he only needs rare ice crystals to transform. The system generously rewards the hero for killing the boss, and he is surprised to discover the materials he needs among the rewards. Luo Da awkwardly tries to talk to the guy, clearly feeling humiliated after such a defeat. With feigned confidence, he offers the young man to give him credit for killing the boss. The girl, furious, stands up for the hero, not understanding how the sorcerer has the audacity to make such a request. Ignoring her anger, Luo Da offers the guy a generous deal, promising him 100,000. The young man understands that for an elite ruler, reputation is more important than money, and these 100,000 are much more valuable to him. Having decided to bargain, the cunning young man pretends to doubt, expecting a more advantageous offer. Luo Da desperately tries to convince him, explaining that 100,000 is all his savings for 6 months. In exchange for his reputation, he even swears to be indebted to the guy, if only he would agree. Having received the money into his account, Lindsay accepts the terms of this profitable deal with a satisfied smile. Suddenly, a huge vulture appears from the darkness, and everyone freezes in horror at the appearance of a new enemy. The familiar examiner, Mr. Hay, comes around the corner, and Luo Da respectfully bows his head to him. The girl is delighted to recognize a silver badge on his hand, the symbol of the legendary Silver Beast Master. Old acquaintances meet again, and this time the balance of power has changed dramatically. Linza greeted the examiner with a slight smile, causing confusion in the elite cultivator. Looking over the defeated boss, Mr. He calmly states that the task seems to have been successfully completed. Trying to save face, Loda immediately takes full credit for killing the boss. However, He's experienced eye immediately notices inconsistencies, because the rank of this monster is much higher than their strength. The examiner apologizes to Lindsay again, admitting to his second mistake in assessing his true abilities. The girl watches with admiration their polite and intellectual conversation, full of hidden meanings. As compensation for the failed mission, the association offers the hero a generous payment of 100,000. With a polite smile, the young man happily accepts the offer, understanding its true meaning. He realizes that this is not just compensation, but payment for his silence about the failures of the powerful association. He decides to invest in the young genius, immediately transferring money to him and offering his help in the future. As he leaves, he takes the monster's corpse, but suddenly the young man notices that it is moving. While others euphorically discuss his sudden wealth, Lindsay realizes with horror that the danger is not over yet. With a slight smile, Lindsay reminds Luoda that in addition to money, he has now also earned his favor. As he leaves, the caster respectfully acknowledges his defeat and promises never to forget this humiliating lesson. Wan Xiaoyun watches them go with delight, amazed that she has met two incredible talents in one day. Inspired by their strength, the girl decides to train harder in order to become a worthy partner for the hero in the future. With a warm smile, the young man wishes her good luck, saying goodbye to his new acquaintances on a positive note. Having received a fortune, the guy goes to an elite district, intending to buy himself a rare B-rank beast. At the entrance to the luxury pet store, he is greeted by a friendly and elegant employee. Without further ado, the hero declares his desire to acquire a new beast, and the girl invites him inside. She leads him into a huge hall where dozens of different creatures are presented in sterile boxes. However, upon closer inspection, he is disappointed to realize that it is just an ordinary B-rank beast shop. Its system instantly scans all available pets, revealing their hidden potential and evolutionary paths. Among the options, his gaze catches on the fiery devil, but it still doesn't compare to his Snow Queen. The sales assistant enthusiastically praises this rare beast, but its price of 16 million leaves the hero in shock. With a sweet smile, she clarifies that the price already includes all the necessary materials for future evolution. Unimpressed by the offer, the young man decides to continue his search, reflecting on the inaccuracy of generally accepted ratings. Suddenly, his system alerts him to the presence of a royal-level beast in this run-of-the-mill store. In front of him appears an inconspicuous stone golem, which for some reason seems vaguely familiar to him. The system reveals two evolutionary paths to him: the ordinary giant golem and the secret path to becoming a stone god. The next form of the divine path, the stone devil, requires rare and sinister materials to awaken. With a sly grin, he remembers Luoda's pet and realizes that he doesn't even suspect the hidden potential of his beast. Lindsay realizes that Luoda has no idea about his pet's divine potential. Thinking about the balance in his team, he decides that he needs a reliable warrior to pair with his mage. The sales assistant enthusiastically praises the cheap and popular stone golem. With a satisfied grin, the young man immediately agrees to the deal, simultaneously ordering rare materials for evolution. The employee is perplexed because these ingredients are completely unsuitable for developing a regular golem. Having collected everything necessary, the girl gives him the seal pearl needed to conclude the contract. A bright flash of light envelops the guy, and the system announces the successful conclusion of the second contract. His new pet, the stone golem, immediately appears nearby, enveloped in the blue flames of the contract. Returning home, the hero decides to immediately level up his new ally to the maximum level. With one click, it infuses hundreds of achievement points into your pet, instantly increasing its rank and level. Looking at his unprepossessing pet, the young man reflects with a smile on his hidden path to divine evolution. He offers his new ally to eat rare materials to immediately begin his transformation. However, the little golem eats only one ingredient, stubbornly refusing to finish the remaining powder. In a rage, the boy scolds his picky pet, who in response begins to stamp his feet capriciously. Not knowing what to do, he calls on his ice spirit for help, who immediately looks angrily at the newcomer. Relieved that his first pet has fully recovered, he tries to understand the cause of the conflict. A headache pierces him as he realizes that his two beasts are engaged in some kind of silent argument. Suddenly, an ominous black light erupts from the consumed materials, heralding an incredible transformation. In place of the small golem now stands a mighty stone demon, whose strength and rank are astounding. Lindsay gloated with a satisfied grin, as Luoda had no idea what a treasure he possessed. No sooner does the stone demon appear than he immediately demonstrates his rebellious nature by attacking everything around him. His attack is easily blocked by the ice spirit, protecting its master from the uncontrollable ally. Enraged by the destruction, Lindsay decides to teach his new pet a lesson in obedience. Realizing that his ice spirit is ready for the next stage, he decides to show the demon who is the real boss here. In a blinding flash of light, his first pet evolves, taking on the powerful form of Snegorochka. Her new skills are astonishingly powerful, transforming her from a support mage into a true monster of destruction. The stone demon retreats in shock, unable to believe such an incredible transformation. With icy calm, the young man gives his snow maiden the first command in her new uniform. Clouds gather over the head of the rebellious demon, and a hail of the sharpest ice blades falls upon him. Brought to his knees, he finally realizes his place, and his master sternly reminds him of the rules of submission. With icy calm, Lindsay asks the final question, the one that will determine the life of his new pet. Finally broken, the stone demon bows its head in submission, acknowledging the authority of its new master. Before he can deal with the chaos, an enraged neighbor bursts through his door. The guy tries to apologize, but the neighbor is furious and demands huge compensation for moral and material damages. The sum of 30,000 shocks the young man, and he realizes that his financial situation is again under threat. When he tries to object, the neighbor threatens him, but immediately an ominous shadow appears behind his back. The stone demon grabs the insolent man with one movement, demonstrating his boundless devotion to his new master. With feigned apology, the hero explains that his new beast is still poorly trained and does not know manners. Horrified by the sight of the monster, the neighbor immediately renounces all claims, begging only to spare his life. With a satisfied smile, Lindsay generously forgives him, enjoying his new power and strength. An alarming call from Anying pulls the hero out of the world of training, reminding him of an important day. In a panic, he realizes that he has completely forgotten about the entrance exams to the most prestigious academy. Arriving late, he sees his girlfriend from afar, who is waving impatiently at him at the gate. His tardiness causes a wave of indignation among other applicants, who consider him too arrogant. The enraged teacher greets him with a series of blows, scolding him for his irresponsibility on such an important day. Embarrassedly citing fatigue, the young man immediately finds himself under renewed interrogation about his training. Having gathered all the top students, Miss Chen gives an inspirational speech before the exams begin. She wishes them all good luck, reminding them that no matter the outcome, they will still remain her pride. Looking at her best student, she pronounces his name with hope, believing in his unconditional success. Already on the bus, Anying curiously asks his friend about his mysterious activities lately. Embarrassedly making excuses, the young man admits that due to missions he completely forgot about the messages from his sister. With a beaming smile, Anying shares the happy news of her own demon bird's successful evolution. Sincerely happy for his friend, he confidently declares that now her admission to the academy is a done deal. The bus takes them along a picturesque serpentine road, revealing views of the green metropolis of Jiangning. Clinging to the window, the girl admires the lights of the big city with delight, amazed by its beauty and grandeur. Suddenly her face becomes serious, and she looks at her brother with concern in her eyes. Before them appears the incredibly beautiful Beastmaster's Academy, striking in its scope and luxury. Other applicants are euphoric and ready to give everything for the chance to study in this magnificent place. As Lindsay made his way through the crowd, he noticed familiar faces, including the elite from Pinghai Middle School. The atmosphere is tense, as the strongest and most ambitious talents from all schools have gathered here. Anying's friend encourages her because, as the class president, she can't afford to lose face. With a battle cry, the girl announces the arrival of the entire elite from their school, ready to conquer the academy. However, the capital's snobs immediately greet them with contemptuous ridicule, calling them country bumpkins. Suddenly, the energetic teacher Chin Nei, responsible for registering new applicants, appears in front of them. Having gathered everyone at the fountain, he congratulates them on successfully passing the first stage of the selection. But he immediately cools their ardor by informing them that the real exam eliminates 80% of all candidates. A wave of panic runs through the crowd, because this means that even those who pass the tests could be expelled. The arrogant young man scornfully declares that they shouldn't worry at all, because they don't have a chance. Tensions mount when one of the strongest applicants confidently suggests that only a select few will pass. A mysterious girl stands out from the crowd, her cold and penetrating gaze revealing the true strength in the crowd. The mysterious Guo Xingyi watches Lindsay with interest, sensing some strange and incomprehensible aura within him. Her companion notices her gaze, but she only waves it away, although she cannot shake off the feeling of his hidden power. The arrogant young man dismisses her concerns with disdain, considering all people from Pinhai to be ordinary villagers. The teacher announces that today they can relax at the Academy Hotel and enjoy free food. Lu Xiaoqian's eyes lit up with hunger, and she immediately dragged her brother to the legendary dining hall. While they are looking for a free seat, lustful glances from students from other schools brazenly stare at the stunning Anying. Without hiding their admiration, they discuss her beauty out loud, which provokes the anger of her companion. Ignoring the whispers, the girl carefully serves her brother a full plate of food. Suddenly, two familiar girls approach their table with trays, sarcastically asking why they don't share. Their mocking comment that they look like a couple makes the embarrassed Anying blush to the tips of her ears. At the next table, one of the students watches the new guy's popularity with the girls with envy and disgust. A guy from another school unexpectedly sits down at their table, which causes Anying's obvious displeasure. Introducing himself as Jo Shun, he sits down next to her with a smile, clearly intending to start a conversation. With feigned friendliness, he begins to ask them about rumors about a legendary high school student from their town. His interest arouses suspicion among the girls, who accuse him of trying to find out information about competitors. With an innocent look, the guy explains that for people like him, information is the key to winning exams. Tired of his importunity, Anying coldly asks him to leave, unwilling to share any information. Not taking offense at her rudeness, he proudly declares that he already knows everything about everyone present. As an example, he points to Lee Tengyun, a local genius with a third-rank pet. This news shocks the girls, as such a high rank for a high school student's pet seems impossible. Know-it-all Jo Shun reveals that Lee Tengyun's success is due to his family's wealth and influence. The realization of the huge gap in strength makes Anying doubt her own chances of success. The informant continues his story, switching to the troubled Guo Xingyi, known for her impudence. The girls are shocked to hear how she managed to level up her pet so quickly. Jo Shun doesn't stop there and moves on to another genius, Tang Yun, who has a rare dual-element pet. This news shocks the friends even more, since such animals are considered practically mythical. Anying recalls the teacher's words about the two wild and untamable elemental monsters from dangerous regions. Lindsay's thoughts immediately return to his rock demon, whose dual nature of rock and spirit required study. After sharing all the information, Jo Shun finally asks the main question about the mysterious genius from their city. With his mouth full, the protagonist calmly declares that this guy everyone is talking about simply didn't show up. To throw the annoying informant off the scent, Lindsay and his friends pretend not to know any genius. Resigned to their silence, Jo Shun politely bids farewell, but his eyes say otherwise. Having moved to a safe distance, he confidently assumes that the mysterious genius is one of them. The girl is perplexed why her brother hides his achievements, because he could be proud of them. Not wanting to attract unnecessary attention, the young man prefers to remain in the shadows and not trust dubious informants. To keep up with the competition, Anying suggests that her friends have a joint training session in the evening. Before leaving, she invites her brother to join them in their room. Their conversation is interrupted by a brazen group of guys who, with lustful grins, offer their company. One of them grabs the girl by the hand, but immediately receives a crushing blow to the face. Instead of anger, only a predatory grin appears on his face, because he likes daring and hot girls. A cold anger flashed in Lindsay's eyes, and he ordered the insolent man to let his sister go in an icy tone. Trying to avoid a fight, Anying asks him to calm down, because they could be punished for breaking the rules. However, the bully only adds fuel to the fire by insulting all the guys from their school and calling them trash. Unable to bear the insult, the young man jumps up and deals a crushing blow to his offender. Shrouded in a sinister aura, he threatens that no one can bully his sister with impunity. Thrown to the ground, the boy and his friends look at him in horror, and an unquenchable rage burns in the hero's eyes. Enraged by the humiliation, the bully prepares for revenge, intending to settle everything here and now. But his ardor is immediately cooled by Lee Tengyun's cold voice, which orders him to stop and not disgrace them. Having acknowledged the force of the blow, the genius suggests that the incident be considered closed. But Lindsay's gaze reads otherwise. As he leaves, he challenges her to take out all her resentment on him when the time comes. When his sister leads him away, the cold flame of unforgiven resentment still burns in the young man's gaze. As a parting shot, he issues a daring challenge, promising to face his offenders at the exam. Lee Tengyun watches him from afar, his face twisted into a sinister grin as he finally learns the name of his main rival. In the evening, Anying's friends burst into the bathroom, disturbing her privacy with their loud screams. With a playful smile, Lu Xiaoqian explains that they came to thank her for her invaluable help in training. Guan Yu adds with delight that thanks to her support, they both reached the second rank. Embarrassed by such attention, the girl panics and tries to fight off their persistent attempts to give her a massage. The next morning, all applicants gather in a huge hall to wait for the main test to begin. Teacher Chinna comes on stage with good news based on an analysis of their past results. However, instead of praising them, he scornfully declares them to be the worst band in history, expecting nothing good from them. The teacher's insults cause a storm of indignation in the crowd, as no one expected such a cold reception. Enraged, Lu Xiaoqian mentally vows to take revenge on her offender after the exam for such humiliation. The instructor announces that the next exam will take place in a mysterious forest, with no choice of difficulty. Each participant will receive a panel of points that will be awarded for killing animals in the arena. He warns that in this forest they can become both hunters and hunted, and death means disqualification. A wave of fear runs through the crowd, because this means that they will have to face third-rank beasts. The exam will last only 4 hours, and only the top 10 scorers will be able to advance. Li Tengyun asks an ominous question, asking if it is only possible to kill animals. With a devilish grin, the instructor announces that killing another participant will earn the winner all his points. This news shocks everyone, as the cruel rules encourage them to kill each other to win. The arrogant young man looks forward to a brutal battle without rules. A strict mentor announces the beginning of a deadly test. The 4 strongest newcomers are preparing to fight for the title of king. The pink-haired girl hopes to meet her brother in this meat grinder. The heroine asks a guy named Guan Ning to find her as soon as possible. The instructor calls for silence from the crowd before the main event begins. A flash of light transports the protagonist to an unfamiliar, dangerous space. A young man discovers a timer on his hand, counting down to the end. The guy realizes that the path to victory lies through the central stele. The coordinates of the strongest players will become visible to everyone, condemning them to an eternal hunt. The hero realizes that in this game only the strongest survives, ignoring the rules. A suddenly appearing 2-headed python does not frighten, but only arouses curiosity. The young man decides to act cautiously, relying on his impenetrable defense. A swift stone demon appears out of nowhere, exuding a hidden threat. The guy decides to hide his true strength in order to assess the capabilities of his new enemy. He lets the demon go, realizing that hunting stronger creatures is more profitable. The stone monster accepts the silent challenge and sets out in search of power. The young man thinks anxiously about Guan Ning, hoping to meet her soon. Meanwhile, the heroine, with her fiery pet, deals with the giant monster in cold blood. The girl checks her glasses, and the remaining time after a tough battle with relief. The girl resolutely sends her firehawk to search for the target. Chaos reigns all around, where every player is desperately fighting for their life. The heroine understands that her faithful companion will not be able to act at such a distance. For the sake of meeting her brother, she is ready to risk everything and go to the stone stele. The brave warrior rushes fearlessly at the huge monster. She instantly assesses the enemy's strength, dodging his furious attack. Her pet bursts into flames, demonstrating its superiority. A barrage of fire incinerates the enemy, netting an easy 20 points. A new dangerous enemy with a tamed savage appears in the clearing. His sinister smile suggests that this meeting was not at all accidental. The girl angrily accuses the impudent man of playing a dirty game, but he only laughs at her. The mad player orders his savage to attack, anticipating her death. At the last moment, the heroine screams to her pet, seeing the fatal blow. The attack had been a distraction, and now she herself had become a target. Suddenly caught in captivity, the girl feels an icy horror from his touch. The villain revels in her fear, revealing the insidious plan of his intelligent beasts. His whisper promises something worse than just death, making her blood run cold. Meanwhile, another participant effortlessly deals with 2 monsters at once. Pleased with easy prey, he still does not let down his vigilance in this dangerous forest. Suddenly the guy notices a familiar face, and the previous meeting comes back to him. The protagonist hides his identity behind a mask of friendliness, preparing to take advantage of his new acquaintance. Zhou Xiong is blinded by the sight of the stone demon, mistaking it for an unseen rare creature. The guy doubts his knowledge, because reality diverges from the information he received. The young man smirks and belittles the strength of his beast, misleading his interlocutor. Zhou Xiong boastfully shows off his pet, trying to appear more important. A false proposal of an alliance is made, promising the naive newcomer a place in the top 10. Behind this ostentatious kindness lies cold calculation, and the intention to stab in the back. At the same time, the girl throws her offender to the ground with one crushing blow. Taken by surprise, the villain writhes in rage, unable to believe his humiliating defeat. Engulfed in flames of anger, the heroine makes it clear that her revenge will be cruel. The ghostly beast unleashes its wrath on the savage, who calls for help in terror. Betrayed by his pet, the defeated player watches in despair as it escapes. Even in the face of death, he tries to manipulate, reminding her of her most painful spot. The girl mercilessly takes his glasses, leaving behind only a lifeless body. The mentor notes with surprise that the cruelty of the newcomers exceeded all his expectations. The leader of the rankings, Li Pengyun, enters the game, immediately facing a powerful beast. His faithful poison ivy fairy emerges from the shadows, ready for a bloody hunt. The plant monster attacks the tiger with lightning speed, leaving him no chance. The mighty beast becomes a helpless victim, devoured without a trace. The cold-blooded young man is already looking for a new target because this game has just begun. The explosion tears flesh to pieces, leaving nothing of the victim but a bloody mess. Poison ivy grips its prey in a deadly embrace, satiating its host. Li Pengyun, with a devilish grin, proclaims his indisputable right to the throne. At a stone stele, two players tensely watch the leaders change in real time. The self-confident young man brushes off her concerns, as his real hunt for people is still ahead. The guy coldly chooses his next victim, because in this game, the weak are just stepping stones for the strong. Excitement flashes in his eyes as Guan Yu becomes his next target. The girl's heart sank with anxiety, because her genius brother's name was not on the list of leaders. The arrogant companion just waves it off, calling her brother a nobody and dragging him along with him. The heroine senses the approach of danger, trusting the instincts of her faithful firehawk. Lost and alone, the girl desperately searches for her brother in this deadly forest. Her thoughts are interrupted by a creepy tree ghost that suddenly appears from the thicket. Zhou Xiong is already making a cunning plan to get rid of his companion after the battle. Meanwhile, the mentor is amazed by Lin Zi's rapid rise in the rankings. The instructor notices with interest that the two newcomers have decided to join forces. The naive ally only grumbles with discontent that he was not left with even one monster. The protagonist coldly explains that this was just training for his pet. Behind the mask of resentment, Zhou Xiong hides his envy and waits for the right moment for revenge. The sudden appearance of a rare beast ignites a fire of excitement in the young man's eyes. The team heads towards the giant golden tree, anticipating a new battle. Zhu Chung runs to the golden tree in delight, seeing it as nothing more than easy money. Suddenly, a powerful vine grabs him, turning his joy into chilling horror. A huge monster awakens, and its ominous mouth promises a painful death. Even his faithful pet finds himself trapped in a deadly trap, unable to help. The boy screams for help in panic, feeling the monster sucking the life out of him. The protagonist, with icy calm, reminds him of the deal, leaving him alone with his fate. Forgetting his pride, the newcomer begs them to unite, because he cannot survive alone. The young man demonstratively leaves, showing that the pathetic pleas do not touch him. Zhou Xiong's despair reaches its limit when he realizes that he has been left to die. Linza stops, but his offer of help comes with a price, not salvation. Even in a death trap, Zhou Xiong does not lose his nature, trying to bargain and threaten. Desperation forces him to shout out his trump card, offering the secrets of the strongest players. Information about the leader's special skills awakens a cold interest in the protagonist. The stone demon rushes forward, ready to unleash all its might at its master's command. A lightning strike slams into the golden monster's trunk, causing it to shudder. However, the giant beast does not give up and instantly entangles the demon with its tenacious vines. The young man understands that his pet's strength is not enough to defeat this monster. Seeing that his servant is trapped, he decides to summon his secret and most powerful weapon. In the hero's furious cry, one can hear not only a command, but also a connection with his faithful demon. The monster itself seems to be calling on its master's strength, mocking his indecision. The golden vines contract mercilessly, seemingly crushing the stone demon into dust. Zhou Xiong falls into despair, screaming in horror at the sight of his savior's death. The teacher, with undisguised surprise, admits that Lin Zi's true strength has exceeded all expectations. Suddenly, a new ghostly form appears, shrouded in dark energy and a thirst for battle. The protagonist eagerly awaits the power his pet will display in this new guise. The ghost warrior easily passes through the deadly attacks of the golden monster. The young man realizes that in this form the stone demon is invulnerable to physical control. He gives a precise order, aiming his servant at the enemy's most vulnerable points. The ghost materializes stone projectiles from thin air, ready to unleash a barrage of attacks on the monster. The crushing blow hits home, freeing the captives and bringing down the giant. The young man understands that defeating this monster will require more than just strength. The cowardly ally flees in panic, abandoning his savior to certain death. At the most critical moment, an ice maiden appears out of nowhere, protecting the hero from a fatal blow. She unleashes an ice storm on the monster, restricting its movements and turning the tide of battle. The guy takes advantage of this opportunity by ordering the stone demon to deal a crushing blow to the vulnerable spot. The loyal servant crashes into the frozen flesh with a deafening roar, breaking through the defense. Two forms of the demon attack simultaneously from different sides, tearing the monster apart. The young man delivers the decisive blow, putting all his hidden power into it. The system announces the fall of the mighty beast, confirming their incredible victory. This battle brings not only points, but also a new, unprecedented power that can change everything. The young man appreciates his new ability with satisfaction, realizing that this path leads to the royal level. The instructor watching him is shocked, because the divine potential of this guy turned out to be beyond imagination. The hero decides that the time for modesty is over, and it is time to declare his strength to the whole world. The rescued newbie is horrified and can't believe that this guy single-handedly defeated such a monster. Joseong's gaze falls on the mysterious Ice Maiden, and he panics and tries to figure out who she is. The protagonist is annoyed by his mistake, but a cunning plan is already being born in his head. He pretends not to understand who she is, passing her off as an ice beast in human form. The consciousness of the cowardly ally feverishly tries to find logic in what is happening. A sudden realization pierces him with fear, because he finally realized who he was dealing with. The young man gives his companion a sign, and she, although perplexed, plays along. A hail of ice shards rains down on the players, leaving them no chance of escape. Panicked, Joseong hides behind his pet, saying goodbye to his life. The Ice Maiden demonstrates her devastating power by controlling the deadly elements. A cunning plan is born in the newcomer's head to kill his savior and escape. The traitor flees, commanding his beast to devour the hero for protection. The two powerful pets exchange silent glances and disappear, submitting to the will of their master. Joseong breathes a sigh of relief, happy not only about his rescue, but also about the points he received. His joy turns to shock when he realizes that his victim is perfectly fine. The young man rests calmly inside the protective cocoon, looking at the traitor with a smirk. The newcomer is overcome with icy horror, as he realizes that his plan has failed from the very beginning. Misunderstanding gives way to fear when the traitor sees his victim unharmed and calm. Hiding his contempt, the newcomer agrees to the alliance, considering the hero a complete idiot. The protagonist demands the promised payment, reminding him of the value of secret information. Joseong cleverly evades the question, suggesting that they check their ranking first. Along the way, he reluctantly shares bits of knowledge about the rare art of the soul, accessible only to a select few. The young man gets to the main point, demanding to reveal the secrets of the strongest players in this test. Forgetting everything, the guy eagerly rushes to the stele to see the result. A fire of greed lights up in his eyes, because killing his companion promises him a place in the top 10. Horror distorts his face when he sees that his stupid victim has almost 200 points. Finally, the hero reveals his true name, and at that moment, all masks are thrown off. The traitor realizes in horror that all this time he was just a pawn in someone else's game. All his confidence is shattered when he realizes that the hero's true strength has been hidden until this moment. The protagonist coldly reminds us of our duty, because salvation always comes at a price. In a fit of despair and rage, the newcomer throws his last ally into the attack. But a wall of ice appearing out of nowhere shatters his last hope into pieces. The young man indifferently announces that he will take not only his glasses, but also his faithful pet. Cornered, the traitor humbly begs for mercy, ready to do anything for the sake of life. But Linze, with icy calm, cuts off his hopes, because he no longer needs secrets. With boundless confidence, he proclaims that no rivals are his equal. The last order sounds like a sentence, and the traitor's dying cry is drowned out by the growing cold. Sharp thorns pierce the traitor's body, ending his miserable and worthless life. Lee Pengyun's main rival appears in the clearing, exuding an aura of death and madness. The minion's last breath becomes a warning of the hero's icy power. The villain, with a mad grin, takes his subordinate's glasses, mercilessly absorbing them. The two titans finally come face to face in the inevitable battle for the title of the strongest. Linze feigns indifference by refusing the title, which only provokes his enemy. Lee Pengyun's mad laughter reveals his true goal, the total destruction of all competitors. An unknown force begins to consume the villain from the inside, causing him to lose control of himself. The thought of Guan Ning being in mortal danger makes the hero drop everything and rush to help. Surprised by the escape, Lee Pengyun orders his monster to catch up and destroy the target. The hero easily falls into the trap, and his opponent is already celebrating his quick victory. The poisonous spirit is ordered to destroy the captive, reveling in his apparent helplessness. Suddenly, Linze appears behind the enemy, and the shock on the villain's face speaks for itself. The Ice Maiden freezes the monster in one motion, turning it into a fragile statue. Without wasting time on games, the young man rushes towards his goal, leaving behind only shards of ice. The new player notices that even when broken into pieces, the poisonous spirit begins to recover. Liu Gang, emerging from the shadows, sees this fight as his chance to take his place at the top. Without wasting a second, he summons his armored dragon to finish off the weakened leader. With a sly grin, he wonders if a defeated enemy can recover in the same way as his beast. With one crushing blow, he takes everything, proudly proclaiming himself the new leader. Suddenly, the glasses on the new leader's hand disappear, leaving him completely bewildered. His brief triumph is interrupted by a furious attack, full of despair and a thirst for revenge. But the defeated enemy easily stops his blow, showing his true, monstrous strength. Li Pengyun reveals his trump card, an eerie synchronicity with his beast. Overwhelmed with terror, Liu Gang desperately orders his dragon to attack the monster. At this time, Lindsay feels a mortal threat looming over his sister and friends. A cute-looking dragon finds himself trapped, surrounded by dark and sinister energy. Guanning is furious and tries to escape from the water prison, but all her efforts are in vain. A new player emerges from the shadows, an undead mage exuding an aura of death and destruction. Its owner, with a contemptuous grin, demonstrates his confidence in the invincible defense. An ambitious young man cold-bloodedly orders his monster to eliminate the girl for the title of leader. His partner teases him with a cheeky grin, hinting at ulterior motives. The warrior cuts her off sternly, making it clear that his obsession is directed at her alone. The cunning girl stops the attack, waiting for the right moment for her cruel game. With a predatory glint in her eyes, she announces that their real goal is a bigger catch. The surprise attack is thwarted by the impenetrable water barrier protecting the hunters. In a rage, the protagonist demands that his sister be released, his voice ringing with cold menace. The captive, in despair, warns her brother of the danger, forgetting her own fear. Ignoring warnings, the young man rushes to help, ready to crush everyone in his path. His opponent finally recognizes the legendary Lin Zi, and the air fills with the tension of the coming battle. The girl realizes with a smile that her intuition was right. He really is not like everyone else. A warrior challenges a legend, but his partner senses a hidden and deadly threat. He makes a desperate bet, where the price of defeat is not only points, but also his own life. In a rage, the player orders his undead mage to grab the hero, leaving him no chance. The young man's fiery fist easily pierces the water spell, demonstrating his superiority. An arrogant warrior faces a stone demon, underestimating its crushing power. The stone demon finds himself trapped in a seemingly indestructible water prison. But it is not a prisoner who breaks out of prison, but a nightmare of shadow and fury, ready to destroy. A mad laugh reveals a terrible secret. His beast is invulnerable to any physical attacks. His triumph is interrupted by a sudden and crushing blow, sending him into a humiliating flight. The young man explains with icy calm that his opponent's overconfidence was his fatal mistake. In a fit of impotent rage, the defeated warrior prepares one last, desperate spell. The hero recalls his demon, because such a weak enemy will not need the help of the Ice Maiden. The mad laughter is interrupted by a cold order that makes the blood run cold. A fire lights up in his eyes, and he prepares to show the true strength he has kept hidden until now. The girl is overcome with icy horror when she realizes that they are doomed to crushing defeat. In a desperate attempt to save herself, she appeals to reason, offering to forget about the enmity and come to an agreement. She reminds them of their shared goal and that they studied together. But her words are lost in the silence. Suddenly her partner shouts, demanding that the captive be released, but his voice trembles with fear. He freezes in indecision, because saving his friend could cost him his own life. Obeying his partner's will, the warrior reluctantly removes the water barrier, freeing the captive. The sister, with tears in her eyes, thanks her brother, who promises that no one will touch her again. The hero's icy gaze turns to his enemies, making it clear that they deserve to die for what they have done. His humiliating demand for an apology explodes the warrior's pride, and he tries to flee in a rage. Suddenly his own partner stops him, seeing a new opportunity in this situation. She offers a deal, revealing her secret gift that could empower them all. The former enemies form a fragile alliance, but jealousy and mistrust still hang in the air. The appearance of the main villain interrupts their truce, and he grinningly promises to destroy them all at once. Flashes of rage distort the warrior's face, enraged by the appearance of more and more powerful enemies. The entire group unites against a common threat, and the hero realizes that the rules of the game have changed again. The mentor watches the battle with concern, as the loss of such talents would be an irreparable loss. The instructor announces the final countdown, leaving the participants with only 10 minutes to survive. Jealousy and greed push the warrior to betrayal. He offers to deceive and rob their new ally. The girl sincerely refuses the insidious plan. Her desire to help turns out to be stronger than her thirst for profit. His heart is torn apart by jealousy and despair, because he cannot believe her betrayal. The frantic order to attack is interrupted by a commanding voice that stops the inevitable bloodshed. The test suddenly ends, but instead of relief, the tension of a new special task hangs in the air. The seniors appear, their aura of strength and superiority putting pressure on the exhausted newcomers. Indignation and a sense of injustice overwhelm the girl, because the battle with the second-year students seems like suicide. All participants understand that after brutal battles, their animals are exhausted, and the chances of victory are negligible. The second-year leader regretfully suggests a competition since the bloodbath is cancelled. The warrior calls his team to unity in the face of a new threat, putting aside internal squabbles. The girl hopefully seeks confirmation of their fragile union, looking into the hero's eyes. The hero's sister jealously protects him, not allowing anyone to lay claim to his promises. The young man's gaze burns with determination, because the reward for this test is the key to his future strength. The seniors look down on them, not seeing the 5 newcomers as worthy opponents. The hero coldly distributes commands, trying to separate the annoying ally from himself. 2 girls unanimously demand to be with him, turning a tactical decision into a personal drama. While tenderly reassuring his sister, he takes the most dangerous blow upon himself, protecting her from harm. A cocky sophomore steps forward, challenging the entire group and mocking their weakness. Driven by pride, Guoxinyi accepts the challenge, ready to prove his strength in combat. An arrogant senior mocks his courage by summoning a giant deadly praying mantis. The flirtatious demon girl Zhang Man chooses the craziest of the newcomers as her opponent. Li Pingyun, with a mad glint in his eyes, accepts the challenge, promising to show no mercy. Another second-year student summons a mighty thunder lion, whose body sparkles with pure energy. With a perverse pleasure, she asks her enemy to cause her as much pain as possible. With only 3 left, Lin Zi and his companions coldly assess their last 2 opponents. A stylish senior challenges the hero over a ridiculous grievance about his hairstyle. While the senior girls look down on the cuties, the young man accepts the fight with condescension. Burning with envy, the last enemy vows to destroy those who dared to be nicer to her. Groans and curses fill the hall as dozens of losers lament their crushing failure. Tears of despair choke the losing girl, and only her friend's embrace saves her from complete despondency. Her friend tries to console her, reminding her that their elimination from this cruel game was only a matter of time. The instructor looks around the crowd with cold contempt, sifting the wheat from the chaff in this stream of losers. Teacher Gao suddenly appeared and offered to conduct his own special test for the rejected ones. A dispute breaks out between the mentors about the cruelty of the selection process, but eventually room for compromise is found. The new teacher, with a gentle smile, offers to give another chance to those who have already lost all hope. 2 different approaches find a common ground, and a spark of a new, final possibility flares up in the room. The instructor's voice booms through the hall, announcing a new test for those who didn't make it into the top 10. Despair gives way to jubilation, and in the hearts of the losers, a fire of insane hope for a miracle lights up. Gathering all his willpower, the losing newcomer vows to endure the next test. The newcomer suffers a crushing defeat, and his opponent smirks and calls him a loser. Even after losing, the guy amazes the senior student with his incredible endurance. An arrogant sophomore mocks the new geniuses, calling them pathetic imitators. An angry girl yells at the newbies, urging them to stop whining and start training. The instructor tries to knock the arrogant newcomers down a peg or 2 to make them strive for more. The broadcast screen shows one of the newcomers still desperately resisting. A giant, furious warhorse made of pure crystal amazes the imagination with its power. Suddenly the hero gives in, and his ice maiden looks at her master in bewilderment. The instructor announces the end of the test with wild joy, because he has seen enough geniuses. The mentors watch the battle in awe, seeing in the hero the embodiment of all great masters. Teacher Gao shouts Linzai's name in delight, realizing that he has found a talent that exceeds all expectations. His colleague cools his ardor with a grin, reminding him of the rules and established order. The defeated second-year student has a hard time accepting his defeat, not believing what has happened. The hero's sister rejoices, celebrating their shared victory and her brother's incredible strength. The new ally is shocked to realize the true extent of the hero's power, which she so underestimated. Devastated by defeat, Guoxinyi turns his grief into a fierce motivation to become stronger. Rumors of a rookie's victory over a sophomore seem like an unthinkable lie to the other participants. Despite his victory, the seniors look down on the hero, not recognizing his strength. With a cold grin, the young man challenges all 3, ready to prove his absolute superiority. A senior student's furious attack falls upon the hero, but he meets it with icy calm. The mentors anxiously interrupt the fight to save the reputation of the humiliated second-year students. The teacher announces the end of the test, recognizing only one clear winner. The defeated second-year student is seething with rage, promising brutal revenge after graduation. The hero accepts his hatred with a disarming smile, which drives the enemy to a white heat. Enveloped in the flames of reward, he feels his body and spirit being reborn on a new level. The system proclaims his triumph, and the gates of the academy officially open to him. His faithful companions also gain new powers, becoming even more deadly. Returning to reality, he falls to his knees, and the crowd parts in amazement before the legend. A shrewd ally approaches him, sensing that his true strength is still hidden. A flirtatious ally playfully offers to reveal her secrets, but only after the exam is over. The instructor's commanding voice breaks the silence, his words carrying a fateful decision for everyone. A finger points to the crowd, and the name of the newcomer leader echoes throughout the room, causing shock and surprise. The former leader's face is distorted by a grimace of rage and humiliation, because this defeat is a personal insult to him. Even the mentors doubt the fairness of the outcome, because the true winner remained in the shadows. The instructor coldly reminds that the rules are ruthless, and only the points earned matter. The crowd divides, separating the victors from those who must face one final test. In the embrace of the hero's sister, her friends find comfort and a faint hope for a second chance. The former enemy sheepishly admits his mistake, admiring the strength of the one he so despised. Suddenly he falls to his knees, begging the hero to take him as a student, and this gesture speaks louder than any words. The hero coldly rejects the ridiculous flattery, shattering other people's hopes into pieces. He mercilessly reminds them that there is no place for losers here, adding to the humiliation. Crushed and humiliated, the former enemy flees in disgrace under an indifferent gaze. The sister suggests celebrating the victory to relieve the tension of the deadly test. Exhausted by the battle, the young man agrees, dreaming of a moment of peace in this new world. The girl decides to extend the celebration by offering to stay in the city all night. His warm smile becomes a silent agreement, promising a short respite. The harsh reality hits him when he realizes that his victory has not brought him wealth. He tries to hide his panic when his sister suggests dinner, unaware of their poverty. An unexpected sign about free food for beastmasters makes him freeze in bewilderment. An incredible cafe where monsters and people dine peacefully together amazes the hero's imagination. The sister enthusiastically offers to treat their faithful pets as well, because they deserve it. Her gaze falls on the Ice Maiden, and she is amazed to see her incredible transformation. The hero, with a warm smile, explains this by their growing connection, putting off the story about the system. The girl eagerly leafs through the menu, dreaming of learning everything from her talented brother. But the shocking prices make the young man break out in a cold sweat, as he can't afford even one dish. Unaware of his panic, his sister enthusiastically orders the most expensive treats. Luxurious dishes appear on the table, and their aroma only intensifies the hero's despair. His brain is frantically searching for a way out, and the humiliating thought of escape seems like the only salvation. The waitress's huge bill is the final blow, turning triumph into disaster. At the very last moment, his sister saves him, smiling and offering to pay the bill from her savings. The lights of the night city fascinate them, promising a new life full of adventure and danger. The girl is thrilled to be studying and living in this huge, bustling metropolis. The thought of a future in a big city makes him reflect on the dire need to find a way to earn money. Their attention is drawn to an underground arena where ferocious monsters fight for the amusement of the public. The invincible four-armed monster inspires terror, its roar shaking the walls of the arena to its foundations. The tempting offer of a huge prize pool for defeating the monster ignites a spark of hope in the crowd. A fire of excitement lights up in his eyes, and he calls upon his faithful demon, seeing this bloody sport as his chance. The arena's strict rules prohibit any magic, turning combat into a pure test of physical strength and will. With a sly smile, he asks his sister if she wants to watch him take on this deadly challenge. With a predatory grin, he decides to accept this generous gift of fate, because fools themselves give him money. Cold calculation tells him that to defeat this beast, he must first strengthen his faithful demon. By investing almost all of his points, he awakens a new, crushing third-tier power in the stone spirit. He realizes that the path to the top is becoming increasingly expensive, and every bit of strength requires a huge investment. The sister is amazed and cannot believe such a sudden and incredible rise of his pet. He jokes that it's all about a hearty dinner, hiding the true cost of this breakthrough. Her boundless faith becomes his main support in the face of mortal danger. The announcer's voice booms over the arena, announcing the entry of a new, mysterious opponent. The presenter is furious and cannot believe the impudence of this newcomer and his strange companion. The crowd erupts in jeers and insults, unaware that their words only fuel his fighting spirit. The arena champion issues a cold warning, absolving himself of blame for his imminent death. The hero meets the threat with a disarming smile, asking only one thing: not to hold back his strength. His calmness only provokes the enemy, who sees in it a reckless thirst for death. Signing a life-or-death contract becomes the point of no return in this bloody game. The host's wild roar starts a brutal competition where more than money is at stake. A ferocious four-armed monster enters the arena, ready to tear apart anyone who stands in its way. A lightning strike sends the stone demon flying, demonstrating a humiliating superiority in strength. Caught in a deadly grip, the loyal servant finds himself trapped in a cage of muscle and fury. A crushing blow slams the demon into the ground, the sound of crushing stone echoing throughout the arena. The champion revels in the power of his beast, because in this battle, brute force decides absolutely everything. The young man understands that the cruel rules of the arena play into the hands of his overconfident opponent. An endless hail of blows falls upon the stone demon, leaving him no chance. The crowd's mocking laughter hurts more than the blows, and genuine horror freezes in the sister's eyes. The hero admits that in this battle of brute force, his faithful servant is doomed to defeat. He decides to take a mortal risk, putting everything on the line for the chance to awaken a hidden power. His cruel words become the final push, a challenge thrown to the brink of life and death. A flash of rage forces the demon to strike back, full of despair and last hope. Having thrown off the stone shackles, a new, terrifying form is born in the arena. The Demon General. The discarded armor becomes not a weakness, but an unexpected weapon, granting incredible speed. The champion's face is distorted by a grimace of horror and incomprehension, because his world has collapsed in an instant. The Demon General's incredible speed leaves a flurry of crushing blows on the giant's body. The four-armed monster feels pain for the first time, his body shaking with rage and humiliation. The limited time forces the hero to scream at his demon to end this cruel game. With the final blow, the new form disappears, but victory brings the demon a new, fourth level. The champion is horrified and cannot believe the crushing defeat of his invincible monster. A sudden flash of light blinds everyone, and the hero realizes with alarm that something has gone wrong. The crowd is perplexed and unable to understand what has happened, as a victory for a newcomer seems unthinkable. The presenter angrily announces disqualification, accusing the hero of using prohibited skills. The hero's sister stands up for him, proving that shapeshifting is not magic, but merely the removal of armor. The arena champion, unwilling to admit defeat, swears that this bastard will not receive a penny. The losing champion offers a new fight, one-on-one, where the winner takes all. His face is distorted by a mad grin, because a challenge from this brat is an insult to his honor. The host, shocked, announces an incredible event. A newcomer challenges the freestyle wrestling champion himself. The crowd erupts in delight, thirsting for blood and spectacle in this unexpected fight. The tension in the arena reaches its peak, as the battle between the two masters promises to be unforgettable. The hero tenderly reassures his demon, promising to show him his true power. The announcer, respecting the newcomer's courage, announces the start of the fight, and the crowd roars in anticipation. The champion accepts the challenge with a grin, ready to turn this battle into bloody entertainment. Meanwhile, outside the arena, the girl jealously interrogates her companion about his interest. He angrily reminds her that she is like a sister to him, dashing all her hopes. The warrior's heart is torn by jealousy and a sense of his own worthlessness. The girl's cold refusal leaves him alone with broken hopes and humiliated pride. Loneliness in a dark alley only fuels his thirst for revenge, which has become his only meaning. A sudden cry for help breaks the silence, and he sees the girl in the clutches of a nightmarish fiery beast. Forgetting his own pain, the young man rushes to help without hesitation, throwing the monster away. He bends over the rescued stranger, but her frightened whisper tells him that the horror is not over yet. The guy's gaze notices a mysterious silhouette on the roof, and he realizes that they are not alone here. A hooded stranger emerges from the shadows, his question about the monster sounding like a veiled threat. The mysterious figure's cryptic speeches call into question everything he knew about good and evil. The young man clenches his fists, ready for a new battle, because the stranger's words do not bode well. A mysterious stranger reveals the bitter truth about the loneliness of abandoned pets, whom the world considers monsters. An enraged warrior named Tang Yu attacks without hesitation, vowing to protect both humans and pets. Confident in his strength, he offers the villain to surrender in order to avoid imminent justice. Sensing something is wrong, the mysterious figure and his dark beast decide to retreat, but their path is blocked. The small firewolf explodes with rage, transforming into a giant, indomitable beast. The stranger admits with a grin that he himself was looking for them, and is now ready to test their true value. The incredible power of the fire monster makes the warrior and his pet freeze in shock. Meanwhile, the crowd watching the fight erupts in shouts, demanding that their champion crush the insolent man. Only two girls in the crowd wish the legendary Lindsay good luck with bated breath. The champion nicknamed the Meat Grinder looks back on his past victories as he prepares to add another to his bloody list. The hero coldly assesses the physical strength of the enemy, which is twice that of an ordinary person. The champion is surprised that his formidable reputation makes no impression on this young man. With a haughty grin, he offers the newcomer to strike the first blow, not seeing him as a real threat. Even the host warns the hero not to hesitate, otherwise this fight could be his last. Drunk on glory, the champion shows off in front of the crowd, preparing to put on a bloody show. One lightning-fast blow cuts off his posturing, imprinting his self-confident smile on the floor. The eyes of the fallen giant are frozen with only shock and humiliating incomprehension of what happened. The presenter screams into the microphone in panic, not believing that the legendary Sanggu was knocked out with the first punch. Trying to save the situation, he tries to disqualify the hero for breaking non-existent rules. One icy glance silences him, and he corrects his mistake in horror. The host's voice rises to a shout, proclaiming the name of the new undisputed winner, Lin Zi. The long-awaited notification on your phone brings not only money, but also a fleeting feeling of relief. Familiar voices cut through the noise of the crowd, and he sees his sister and new ally running towards him. The pink-haired girl looks at him with genuine surprise, amazed by his hidden power. The sister's jealous gaze glides between them, sensing that their connection is more than just friendship. With a playful smile, Guo Xinyi reminds him of their forced union, which had quietly evolved into something else. She introduces herself flirtatiously, blurring the lines between them, and announcing the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship. Her sudden offer to help activate his new ability takes him by surprise. The price for this incredible power turns out to be simple: friendship, which he cannot refuse. Realizing the gravity of the moment, the hero leads them away from prying eyes to discuss this gift in privacy. An awkward silence falls over the room when two girls find themselves in the same room with a guy. The hero gives a sign, and Guo Xinyi readily begins to reveal the secret of his incredible strength. She talks about her gift of perception, which allows her to see what is hidden from ordinary eyes. The sister's admiration gives way to a businesslike question, because now she needs to understand how to use this gift. A simple command to close your eyes becomes the beginning of a mysterious ritual full of uncertainty. The sister's jealous impulse is interrupted, and she reluctantly agrees to trust for the sake of verification. The girl's heart beats wildly with excitement as she approaches to look into his soul. Her gift stumbles upon something strange, a third pet, unlike anything seen before. An image of an incredible fusion. The combined power of his faithful servants flashes through her mind. The word fusion sounds like a death sentence, and the shock on the hero's face confirms her incredible discovery. Guo Xinyi admits that her gift is still weak, and she can only pick up vague signals from others' souls. With an awkward smile, she passes the baton to the hero's sister, hinting at the necessary physical contact. She explains that this is the only way to sense hidden potential, by looking deep into the soul. A bright light flashes in her eyes, and she dives into someone else's mind, searching for answers. Suddenly she recoils in horror, leaving the hero's sister completely bewildered. Hiding her fear, she lies that she saw nothing special, only dark shadows and hidden potential. But the bad feeling does not leave her, and she decides to remain silent about the ominous sign she saw. She playfully reminds them of the late hour, finding an excuse to stay with them overnight. With a sly smile, the girl announces that she will stay with them, leaving them no choice. Her joyful cry becomes the final chord of this day, uniting them into a new, strange family. A sleepless night in the company of two girls makes the hero think about his awkward situation. The thought of merging his pets haunts him, because to do this, they need to learn to get along with each other. 10 days later, the majestic gates of the academy welcome new students, full of hope and ambition. The crowd eagerly searches for their names on the distribution lists, and the air rings with excitement. The hero's gaze slides over the list, and with bated breath he searches for only one name, his own. The sister's joyful cry breaks the silence, because fate has brought them together again in the same class. Guo Xinyi's sudden appearance dampens his sister's joy, as she will now have to share her brother with a rival. The severe wounds on Tang Yun's body indicate a brutal fight that took place off-screen. His dark tale of encountering dangerous comrades hints at new threats within the academy. In the shadows, the defeated Li Penyun lurks, his heart burning with a thirst for revenge and the anticipation of a bloody massacre. The hatred between the two rivals continues to smolder, promising a new, inevitable clash. A joyful reunion celebrates the successful completion of a challenge, uniting old friends. Despite being placed in a less-than-ideal class, the girls are proud of their achievement. A strict curator announces the beginning of a 3-year study, where the main rule will be endless training. Constant testing will weed out the weak, and the threat of expulsion hangs over every student. The huge scholarship for the best students lights a fire of greed and ambition in their eyes. For the hero, this becomes the only chance to buy an advanced pet and achieve his goal. The instructor announces a special project that is mandatory for everyone, and the air is filled with intrigue. Virtual battles open up a world of endless combat and opportunities for growth. But the real horror comes with the realization that their enemies will be every beastmaster in the country. The brutal ranking system becomes the main goal, as the path to the top lies through bronze, silver, and gold. The hero realizes that to achieve true power, he needs to upgrade his stone spirit as quickly as possible. A sudden revelation strikes him, and he realizes that the key to invincibility lies in the fusion of his pets. With the end of the lesson, only one desire ignites in his soul: to immediately rush into virtual battles. Crowds of students surround him, vying with each other to invite him to join their clubs and find new allies. Even the most tempting offers cannot tempt him, because he has chosen the lonely path to the top. Suddenly, members of the elite club appear, their aura of power silencing the crowd. Their leader, a fearsome second year named Luo Han, looks at the brash newcomer with interest. The hero's ally anxiously recognizes one of them as an acquaintance, not expecting to see him among the elite. An offer comes his way that he can't refuse. A chance that could change his life forever. With a polite smile, he rejects the offer of an elite club, choosing his own path. His brazen refusal shocks the elite, because no one has ever dared to refuse them. The humiliated opponent, in a rage, throws a threat at him, turning from a defeated enemy into an implacable foe. Icy indifference becomes his only response, showing that pathetic threats do not move him. He doesn't care about new enemies, because he believes in only one rule: the right of the strong. The futuristic virtual battle arena is striking in its scale, promising endless battles. They take their places, and reality dissolves, giving way to a digital world of limitless possibilities. In her heart burns the determination to keep up with her brother, following him along this dangerous path. The huge number of participants and the pitifully low rating only fuel his thirst for battle. The ambitious goal of breaking into the top 10,000 becomes his first task in this meat grinder. His first virtual battle pits him against a cocky opponent in a sun-drenched clearing. The enemy's arrogant gaze glides over him, seeing only another newcomer. Easy prey. He is already anticipating victory, because meeting a student at the beginning of the season is a real stroke of luck. A ferocious boar with huge tusks appears in the arena at his command. With contempt, the hero realizes that the pet's weakness has become the cause of his enemy's joy. But the appearance of a third-rank stone demon instantly changes the balance of power on the battlefield. The enemy's confident cry is drowned out by the silence when he sees the difference in their levels. One crushing blow turns the formidable boar into a pitiful and helpless toy. The enemy's face is distorted by a grimace of horror, because his world has collapsed in an instant. Without giving him time to recover, the demon unleashes a barrage of blows on him, and the hero's rating skyrockets. The relentless barrage of attacks continues to push his rating higher and higher. Each defeated enemy becomes just another step on his path to the top. 2 days later, he breaks into the top 100,000, and his pets reach unprecedented power. The grueling battles push him to his limits, and he decides to take a short break. Returning to reality, he sees his sister and receives an unexpected notification. Suddenly, his main rival, the leader of the newcomers, appears, and the air fills with tension. Li Pengyun comments on his tenacity with a disdainful smirk, seeing no equal in him. He boastfully announces his record, unaware of the humiliating blow that awaits him. The shock on the sister's face turns to delight when she sees that her brother has beaten his rival. Disbelief and horror distort the leader's face when he sees the crushing truth on his phone screen. The sister complains about her stalled rating and asks for advice on choosing a second pet. His surprise only underscores how absorbed he was in his own battle for the top. She resentfully reminds them that she is the only one in their class who passed the most difficult selection process. A plan is already brewing in her head on how to find the perfect companion compatible with her firebird. With a warm smile, he promises to help, because his knowledge of hidden evolution is invaluable. A happy girl suggests going to the pet store this weekend. His sudden invitation to Guo Xinyi to train together makes everyone freeze. Jealousy and curiosity make her ask a direct question about their true relationship. A sudden touch and an anxious whisper interrupt the awkward scene, foreshadowing trouble. Her gift reveals a sinister secret. Their group has become the target of a mysterious attacker. Questions about the mysterious enemy remain unanswered, plunging the hero into the abyss of the unknown. Her words about the demonization of pets sound like an ominous warning of a new, unprecedented threat. Anxiety grips her heart, because the future she saw for her sister is somehow connected with this dark force. Casting aside all doubts, the guy sets himself a new, daring goal: to break into the top 10,000. His Ice Maiden crushes enemies in the whirlwind of battle, rapidly bringing him closer to his cherished goal. Meanwhile, a mysterious stalker watches his every move, studying the profile of his future victim. The sinister grin on his face suggests that the cat and mouse game is over, and it's time to act. A sudden teleportation throws him into a scorched desert, where a new enemy is already waiting for him. The stranger in the creepy mask arouses in him only mild curiosity and a sarcastic question. 2 powerful 4th-rank beasts appear out of nowhere, and the air is filled with the premonition of a difficult battle. The arrogant opponent sneers, hinting that having 2 pets is not so uncommon. With icy calm, the young man accepts the challenge, calling on his faithful companions to fight on equal terms. The incredible power of the 4th-rank beasts makes him realize that he is facing a true elite. The masked enemy acknowledges his meteoric rise with a grin, but there is a hidden threat in his voice. He dismissively calls his past victories a game with scum, promising to show the level of real elite fighting. Tired of empty talk, the hero interrupts him, demanding that this decisive battle begin immediately. A mysterious opponent promises to show him true power, which will leave him no chance. The fish unleashes a torrent of water upon them, equal in power to the heavens themselves. The Ice Maiden easily creates an impenetrable barrier, repelling the deadly attack. In response, the armored turtle unleashes a barrage of sharp spikes, leaving them no time to breathe. In Demon Soul mode, he dances on the blade of a knife, dodging a deadly hail of thorns. The enemy turtle enters a combat state, turning into a devastating spinning projectile. The Ice Maiden erects an unbreakable shield, taking the full force of the furious attack. Her counterattack turns the battlefield into an icy hell of whirlpools and meteors. The masked adversary reluctantly acknowledges her strength, but there is no fear in his voice. The hero understands that their passive defense is the path to defeat, and a plan is born in his head. The mysterious enemy announces that the real test is just beginning and activates his trump card. His two beasts begin to melt, merging into a single nightmarish creature of water and mud. A new, mutated form rises from the earth, exuding an aura of primal terror and destruction. A huge ball of mud is flying towards them, and they have only seconds to save themselves. With a furious cry, he unleashes the full force of the harsh cold zone, preparing for the final attack. His Ice Maiden raises from the earth a giant ice mountain, an indestructible bastion. A crushing blow to the ice barrier creates a deadly avalanche of fragments and cold. But the masked enemy only laughs, because this pitiful defense is no match for his cunning tactics. The high-temperature water bomb melts the ice with ease, demonstrating the futility of their efforts. A new attack takes them by surprise, and the hero realizes that his main defense is no longer available. At the last moment, he pushes his companion away, taking the full force of the explosion. Suddenly, the enemy announces that it was just a test, which he passed with honor. Rage and humiliation distort the Ice Maiden's face, but she is forced to accept this defeat. Despite the loss, the hero sees this not as the end, but only as a new opportunity to become stronger. His self-sacrifice for his pet does not go unnoticed, attracting the attention of the mysterious boss. The question of the meaning of what happened hangs in the air, and the hero looks at his companion with anxiety. An unexpected offer comes to join the Symbiosis team, promising to unlock hidden potential. He tries to understand the true goals of this mysterious group, but receives only an ultimatum. With a cheeky smile, the young man rejects the offer, choosing the path of a lone warrior rather than a puppet. The masked enemy respectfully accepts his refusal, promising to wait for their next inevitable meeting. His audacity and arrogance attract the attention of other players, who watch his every move. An unexpected encounter with Lee Pengyun introduces a new, dangerous element into his plans. The rookie leader looks at his rival with disdain, vowing to make him pay for the humiliation. He leaves, determined to deal with this alone, and the air fills with the premonition of a storm. Thoughts about his mysterious henchmen haunt him, as their true motives remain a mystery. He understands that inaction could lead to disaster, and decides to squeeze all the information out of the enemy. The power gap between his pets becomes a major problem that requires an immediate solution. The materials needed for evolution prove incredibly expensive, leaving him in a desperate situation. The sudden appearance of a former enemy with news of his defeat takes the hero by surprise. He decides to use this chance to find rare materials needed for strengthening. Hearing about the rare stones, his new student readily offers his help. The sheer number of materials required leaves him in shock, as even a rich man would not be able to afford it. A sudden inspiration tells him where these treasures can be found, and he offers to guide the hero. They set off for the mysterious Spirit Mountain, a place full of dangers and untold riches. Rifts in space lead to other worlds, from where powerful beasts come to their world. For decades, associations and universities have controlled these fault lines, drawing endless resources from them. But there are still undeveloped, deadly, dangerous areas that even the bravest are afraid to venture into. Doubt creeps into his soul, because the risk is too great and there are no guarantees. With a sly smile, his companion assures him that this secret information cost him incredible effort. The ominous glow of the rift confirms his words, for there really are countless treasures hidden here. Encouraging his companion, the hero resolutely steps towards the unknown. Fear grips his new friend, and he panics and tries to dissuade the hero from taking this crazy step. With icy calm, the young man invites him to return, because this path is only for the brave. Gathering all his will into a fist, he takes a step forward, because this moment is his only chance for redemption. Confidence in success fills his companion, because with such a brother they can handle any adventure. A cave full of crystals becomes a real treasure for them, easy and free prey. But a sudden premonition of danger makes the hero wary, foreshadowing imminent disaster. A crystal tiger emerges from the darkness, its icy gaze ominous. Doubt creeps into his soul as to whether his companion's pet will be able to defeat such a strong enemy. With resentment in his voice, he asks not to underestimate his beast, which easily swallows a tiger. His smug smile speaks of his confidence, as now he just needs to wait for his beast to digest its prey. But his triumph is cut short when his pet has difficulty spitting out the undigested and unharmed tiger. The hero is struck not so much by the failure, but by the fact that his companion seems to understand the language of his animal. The crystal tiger's unexpected laughter is the last straw, turning the scene into complete absurdity. Panic grips his companion as he realizes the complete helplessness of his monster. To save himself, the hero orders the disposal of all loot, sacrificing little for more. Greed fights with fear in the soul of his friend, who does not want to part with easy money. With cold calculation, the young man promises untold treasures if they give up the useless cargo. He understands that the real treasures are guarded by much larger and more dangerous creatures. Suddenly, a giant stone snake bursts out from under the crystal floor, dragging his companion away. The trap is sprung, and now they will have to defend themselves from a whole pack of cowardly but deadly creatures. The hero coldly devises a plan to turn their cowardice into their own destruction. A faithful pet is dragged into a crystal abyss, and its owner, in a rage, rushes after it. But he himself finds himself in a deadly trap, and his last cry for help is drowned out by the clanging of crystals. An indestructible barrier protects the hero, but his faithful servant is left alone against the enemy. The crystal snake latches onto the stone demon, trying to crush it with its icy grip. His companion is perplexed and does not understand why the demon does not use his ghostly form to avoid the blow. The brutal battle continues, and the stone spirit finds itself in the clutches of a powerful enemy. The friend's panicked cry breaks the silence as he sees the snake preparing to strike. An icy whirlwind descends upon the demon, and it seems that he will not survive this storm. Suddenly, his companion realizes that it was just a cunning plan to gather all the enemies in one place. At his command, the demon unleashes a hail of crystals on the enemies, and the system declares a crushing victory. Freed from captivity, his friend rushes to his savior with a joyful cry. But their triumph is interrupted by a chilling horror as hundreds of hungry eyes stare at them from the darkness. A dying cry of despair is drowned out in the darkness as a horde of hungry monsters surrounds the defenseless friends. But instead of death, he sees his savior, and a crazy hope lights up in his eyes. The hero coldly counts out his enemies, and his calm brings a chilling order to the chaos. At the last moment, he pulls his friend out of the jaws of darkness, giving him a second chance. Panic turns to horror when he realizes he is surrounded by even more ferocious creatures. At the command of her master, the Ice Maiden unleashes a barrage of crushing ice spikes on her enemies. The fear of death makes his friend ask a rhetorical question to which he is afraid to hear the answer. Each defeated enemy turns into priceless material, bringing them closer to their cherished goal. Despite the huge number of enemies killed, the hero understands that the main prey is still ahead. Saved and grateful, his companion, with tears in his eyes, recognizes him as his true brother. A sudden explosion takes them by surprise, and a giant stone snake bursts out from underground. A death cry of horror breaks the silence as he becomes the main target again. The stone demon saves them at the last second, throwing them aside from the deadly attack. From the crystal depths emerges a new, even more ferocious enemy, thirsting for blood. The time has come to show the fruits of their joint training in a real battle of life and death. A shadowfish appears out of nowhere, rushing towards the enemy with the speed of lightning. The Ice Maiden weaves an unbreakable prison from the cold, restricting the monster's movements. A crushing blow of two elements falls upon the enemy, leaving him no chance. An explosion of energy awakens a new, previously unseen power in the stone spirit. Defeating a nest of snakes brings them not only priceless treasures, but also long-awaited relief. A successful hunt not only yields invaluable materials, but also opens the way to a new level. His companion rushes greedily towards the treasure, unaware that an invisible enemy is watching them. A mysterious stranger emerges from the shadows, his words sounding like a confession and a hidden threat. The hero, in shock, demands answers, not understanding how this stranger knows his name. The sinister figure reveals his identity with a grin, and tension fills the air. The name Team Symbiosis echoes throughout the cave, and recognition flashes in the hero's eyes. Fear distorts the face of his companion, because he knows what a dark reputation this organization bears. Memories of a recent investigation flash through his mind, revealing the true nature of their enemies. The stranger's devilish smile confirms their worst fears. They are stealing animals from the masters. Their teachings about freeing pets sound like a mockery, and the hero understands that he is faced with real evil. The radical organization Symbiosis appears in all its dark and sinister glory. Their leader tells of an ancient catastrophe that changed the world forever and gave birth to wild beasts. The world was divided into those who could be tamed and those who remained wild and untamed. Defeated and weak, they became only a shadow of their former power, the dregs of this new world. Humanity not only separated itself from them, but also created a cruel hierarchy, dividing everyone into 3 levels. Their mission is to destroy this injustice by becoming a punishing sword for this rotten world. He tries to seduce the hero, promising to reveal his hidden strength and give him unprecedented power. Words about kings and evolution take the young man by surprise, because this stranger knows too much. But he sees through his lies, realizing that it is just a cheap manipulation of emotions. Despite the truth of his words, the hero categorically refuses to become a puppet in someone else's game. His companion shouts in rage that they are wolves in sheep's clothing, luring the gullible into a trap. But their disbelief only amuses the leader of Symbiosis, and he prepares to show them his true power. He easily takes control of a giant stone snake, demonstrating his dark power. Having thrown off its shackles, the snake is transformed, shrouded in an ominous aura of demonic power. The first step towards evolution has been taken, and now they are faced with not just a beast, but a real monster. The sudden strengthening of the enemy and the realization of Tang Yun's presence plunge the hero into shock. The leader of Symbiosis orders his new servant to show all his power and destroy the unbelievers. The Ice Maiden erects a mirror barrier, but will it withstand the onslaught of demonic power? The fear of death forces his friend to say goodbye to life, regretting his fatal curiosity. But instead of death, they hear only groans of pain, because the demonic transformation turned out to be excruciating torture. The hero's incredible ability to translate the beast's language plunges his companion into a state of shock. The realization that their enemy preaches equality, but in reality enslaves the weak, explodes in him with rage. Realizing that running is pointless, he orders his pets to attack, aiming for the enemy's weak spot. The Ice Maiden enters the battle, but the difference in strength with the demonic snake is too great. In this battle of the elements, ice is losing to earth, and without a breakthrough card, victory seems impossible. The roar of the demonic snake confirms that it is not just a beast, but a creature full of rage and pain. The hero understands that this power is unnatural and will cause a monstrous backlash, and decides to risk everything. By investing all his skill points, he awakens a new final form in his demon, the Phantom General. The incredible speed of this form makes it lightning, but its fragility makes it a glass vessel. The final order sounds like a death sentence, and the Ice Maiden begins synthesis, preparing for the decisive blow. The incredible fusion of 2 forces gives birth to a new, devastating technique, leaving the hero in shock. An ice core born from 2 elements promises unprecedented power and total destruction. He understands that unlocking fusion requires not only strength, but also harmony between his pets. Their fragile interaction becomes the key to victory, but also the greatest weakness in this battle. The Ghost General quickly targets the enemy's only vulnerable spot. His crushing blow shatters the icy prison, unleashing a primal fury. The hero realizes that their defenses cannot withstand constant attacks, and time is against them. The enemy watches their futile attempts with contempt, enjoying his superiority. Realizing that the enemy is playing with them, he furiously gives the order for a final, desperate attack. All hope now lies with his friend, who must distract the monster and buy precious time. Disbelief and fear distort his friend's face, because playing the role of bait for him means certain death. A desperate cry of unwillingness to die is drowned out by chaos, but he no longer has a choice. Overcoming his fear, he gives the order to his monster, launching a suicidal attack. A jet of caustic acid erupts from his pet's mouth, aiming at the giant snake. The acid leaves only smoking burns on the monster's body, causing a furious, pain-filled roar. An icy blast rains down on the demonic snake, but even this power cannot stop it. The hero's furious cry conveys not only an order, but also his determination to win at any cost. Through the roar of battle, he hears a faint voice, and a spark of hope lights up in his heart. His companion translates the snake's pain-filled cry, and compassion for the enemy is born in their souls. An unexpected request for help makes the hero freeze, because now this is not just a battle, but salvation. Focusing all his will, he directs his energy towards healing the suffering monster. Defeating the demonic snake and lifting the curse brings him incredible rewards and achievements. Freed from the dark magic, the snake returns to its true, crystalline form. All the conditions for the evolution of the stone spirit are finally met, but the joy is overshadowed by a heavy premonition. Despite his triumph, his soul burns with anger, for he has encountered true, naked evil. The symbiosis leader comments mockingly on his gloomy face, not understanding the reason for his anger. He contemptuously accuses the Beastmasters of cruelty, justifying his own monstrous actions. The hero coldly retorts that in this cruel world only the strongest survives, and this is the law of nature. With undisguised hatred, he points out the hypocrisy of their teaching, built on lies and manipulation. His words hit the mark, because their fight for equality is just a pretext for enslaving the weak. The hero's words, full of contempt, hit the mark, calling their team a bunch of hypocrites. The conversation is over, and the leader of Symbiosis, realizing the futility of his attempts, moves on to threats. He hints at the hero's sister who possesses soul magic, seeing her as the key to his subjugation. A flash of rage and fear distorts the young man's face, because he understands that Guan Ning is in mortal danger. In a desperate attempt to capture the enemy, he orders the Ice Maiden to attack, but the target is too fast. The enemy dissolves into the icy fog, leaving behind only cold and a sense of impending doom. Returning to the academy, the hero searches for his sister in panic, but she is nowhere to be found. Everyone he meets just throws up their hands, and despair squeezes his heart even more tightly. Jealousy and resentment force his former ally to turn away, unwilling to help in the search. But her companion, seeing his despair, decides to intervene, because there is more at stake than just an insult. Guo Xinyi's desperate cry breaks the silence, knowing now that the mysterious enemy's next target will be Guan Ning. Recalling a recent conversation, she points to the only place where the hero's sister could be: the virtual battle room. Not wanting to be left behind, Guo Xinyi rushes after him without hesitation, ready to share any danger. The news of the impending attack on Guan Ning makes the blood run cold in the veins of even the most steadfast. Overcoming the pain, Tang Yun vows that he will not allow his mistake to be repeated again, and rushes to help. The empty room greets them with a ringing silence, and their desperate cries are drowned out by a booming echo. The sudden appearance of his main rival brings a chilling calm to the chaos. His poisonous grin and demand to beg for help become the last straw that breaks the camel's back. A flash of blind rage makes the hero forget about everything, and his hands tighten around the enemy's throat. Frightened but not broken, he drops his mask, leading them on a false trail to the animal store. Panicked calls go unanswered, and the hero realizes that he is left alone to face the disaster. In a dark, abandoned warehouse, a kidnapped girl comes to, not understanding where she is. When she wakes up, she finds herself bound by creepy red vines, which are draining her of her strength. Two masked figures emerge from the shadows, their sinister appearance ominous. With false friendliness, they tell her not to worry, because they come in peace. The word symbiosis sounds like a death sentence, and the girl realizes in horror that she has fallen into the hands of fanatics. She tries to summon her phoenix, but realizes that its flame is powerless against these vines. Every attempt to break free only strengthens the grip, causing her unbearable pain. The kidnapper's leader reveals his trump card with a grin. Their poisonous demon has already poisoned her. Realizing that time is against her, she demands direct answers, trying to buy herself at least a little time. The leader of the kidnappers reveals their true goal: to destroy this unjust world with her help. He knows her main secret: a special soul that can transform pets into magical creatures. Her attempt to hide the truth is shattered by his knowledge, because this ability is a gift not from the phoenix, but from her soul. Her silence becomes the last straw, and he decides to resort to more brutal methods. The threat of using special methods makes her scream in horror, but she continues to deny it. A sudden cry for help breaks the silence, and her savior appears from the shadows. His sister's joyful cry greets his appearance, and hope lights up in her eyes. The appearance of a mysterious dog spirit comes as a complete surprise to the kidnappers. An unknown beast, invisible to the association, becomes a new, unforeseen problem for them. His unique ability to sense a target's energy makes him the ideal hunter in this shadow world. The leader of the kidnappers smirks and offers to tie him up too, since he came to their lair himself. The captive, in desperation, warns her brother about a poisonous vine that can block soul energy. But his faithful companions are already entering the battle, unleashing a barrage of crushing blows on the enemy. The masked enemy reminds you that this is not a virtual battle, and summons his powerful beasts. Their combined attack creates a terrifying mixture of water and earth, ready to engulf everything in its path. With an arrogant grin, he declares his superiority, because his pets are already at the 4th rank. Even the Ice Maiden feels the threat posed by the molten lava created by their fusion. But the hero only grins, because for him the 4th rank is not the limit, but just the next step. In his hand, the primordial amber stone flashes, the final key to the evolution of his stone spirit. With a roar that shakes the walls, his pets also reach rank 4, and the balance of power shifts once again. The condition is fulfilled, and a blinding flash of light marks the beginning of a new, powerful evolution. Enveloped in purple flames, the spirit of Earth is born on the battlefield, ready to crush all enemies. Her shock at his rapid evolution gives way to even greater surprise, because this is only the beginning. The masked enemy is horrified and unable to understand why his own beast is trembling with inexplicable fear. With icy calm, the hero confirms that there is no room for restraint in this world, hinting at his true power. His earth spirit is not just a pet, but the embodiment of an ancient power that even stones bow before. The new ability Earth Power subjugates all stone creatures, turning their strength into their weakness. Realizing its crushing defeat, the enemy panics and orders a retreat, but not empty-handed. Poisonous vines become a last, desperate weapon, turning innocent girls into helpless hostages. Not wanting to be a burden, she fights the poison, her determination becoming the last bastion on the road to their salvation. At the last second, the demonic phoenix burns away the poisonous vines, saving its mistress. Freed from captivity, she shouts to her brother that they are all right and demands that the villains be caught. Realizing the game is over, the villains retreat in panic, leaving behind a poisonous trap. Their poisonous demon releases a cloud of mist to buy precious seconds for escape. The indignation of one of the villains falls upon his partner, whose pet turned out to be completely useless. In their panicked flight, they blame everything on the hero, whose intervention led to their crushing failure. The stone spirit's gaze, full of cold fury, pursues them even from a distance. She interrogates the captives, trying to extract from them the truth about the special demonic soul and their great purpose. Frozen and helpless, they can only moan in response, carrying their secrets into the icy silence. His thoughts return to the sinister sorcery and his inexplicable connection with Guanning, and anxiety grips his heart. The hero gives them one last chance, demanding honest answers in exchange for their miserable lives. His gaze, full of cold fury, leaves no doubt. The lie will cost them everything. Breaking under the pressure, one of the captives tearfully reveals the true nature of their outcast alliance. His words about demonization and her sister's special soul make her freeze in bewilderment. She continues to deny it, blaming it all on the power of her demonic phoenix, but her words sound unconvincing. The sudden discovery that their demonization is merely the power of the artifact changes everything. In a desperate attempt to save himself, the captive offers to give up the artifact in exchange for his freedom. But the hero is not going to play by their rules, and his Ice Maiden begins to search. The icy touch makes the captive shiver with cold and humiliation, but he has no choice. The discovered rift fragment turns out to be the key to incredible power, capable of changing the course of evolution. The unknown artifact in the brother's hands only causes bewilderment and anxious curiosity in the sister. He explains that the artifacts are supernatural objects born in the era of ancient catastrophes. They emerged from the rifts between dimensions, carrying within them a particle of chaos and unknown power. These items can be anything from bottomless storage to materials for strengthening beasts. The hero understands that the main power of these crystals is not demonization, but the key to true evolution. The sister's fire phoenix feels an irresistible attraction to the crystal, seeing its future in it. With a warm smile, he gives the priceless artifact to his sister, because her power is also his power. His gaze turns to the captive, and he demands to know about the phoenix's mysterious demonization ability. The sudden appearance of friends interrupts the interrogation, and the air fills with anxiety for their safety. All targets are captured, but a friend poisoned with sleeping powder becomes a new, unforeseen problem. The captain of the Beastmasters Association appears on the scene and takes control of the situation. His gaze falls on the hero, and he immediately recognizes him as that very capable newcomer. The captain thanks the young man for the valuable information about symbiosis, promising him a reward for his capture. He asks for further cooperation, and the hero without hesitation agrees to help in the investigation. Out of concern for the victims, the captain orders them to be taken to the hospital for a full examination. Having woken up the rescued girl with tears in her eyes, thanks the hero for saving her. Anxiety grips her heart, as she can't believe that her friends are also facing this threat. The words about the demonic soul technique and its sinister vision merge into a single, terrifying picture. The hero asks to leave them alone, because he needs to discuss something important and frightening with them. Guo Xinyi watches them leave with concern, feeling that this conversation will change their lives forever. The shocking realization that Guo Xinyi had been helping them investigate their own soul's potential astonishes everyone. With difficulty, she admits that she lied, and her gift showed her not shadows, but Guan Ning's terrifying future. Apologizing for her lie, she explains that she wanted to first gather more data about this nightmarish vision. Fragments of knowledge about ferocious demonic beasts surface in her memory, and fear grips her heart. She explains that the main characteristic of the demonic branch is its incredibly rapid growth and thirst for destruction. This dark force gradually consumes the master's mind, turning him into an uncontrollable fallen monster. Because of this danger, the association has introduced a strict ban on the breeding and sale of demonic pets. The hero remembers his enemy, who, despite having a demonic pet, seem to retain a clear mind. Symbiosis is the key to the mystery, as this is how the pet is exposed to the alien force. The sister's answer to the question about the phoenix's demonization is simple. This ability appeared after its evolution. Her power is great, but limited, and the minute-long demonization power is only available once per day. He realizes that their hunt for his sister is a desperate attempt to curb an unstable dark force. Her words sound like a warning. This world is full of wonders, and their knowledge is just the tip of the iceberg. Her new ally gives her hope, as a second pet could be the key to incredible power. Fear grips her heart, as she realizes that the symbiosis fanatics will not give up on their goal. A fire of determination lights up in her eyes, because the only way out is to become stronger than anyone who stands in her way. She hopefully asks her brother for help, and his firm consent becomes a lifeline for her. Behind his willingness to help lies a cold calculation, and a desire to unravel all the secrets of her phoenix. Time is against them, and there are only 3 days left until the next test to gain new strength. With a sly smile, he suggests not to delay, because he knows a place where answers and new opportunities await them. The pet shop is disappointing, as there aren't any pets with hidden evolutionary lines. The system offers 2 paths to choose from, the standard Fire Eagle and the hellish Blazing Phoenix. She is already following the path of the hellish Phoenix, striving for the primal form and power of the 9th rank. He realizes that her hidden path is connected to the demonic branch he saw in Guoxinyi. The choice has been made, and now she must either continue her dangerous evolution, or be stuck forever. New, previously unseen demands for evolution only confirm his suspicions about the demonic branch. He decides to talk to her frankly, because her future depends on this conversation. The hero lifts the veil of secrecy, telling about his ability to see hidden paths of evolution. He modestly downplays his gift, hiding the true power and cost of this incredible ability. Fear of exposure keeps him silent, because the truth about his power could turn him into a guinea pig. His gift unlocks the dormant power of the phoenix, which is much stronger than it appears at first glance. But this incredible power is filled with wildness and uncertainty, foreshadowing a dangerous evolution. The possibility of a fusion of fire and demonic elements, although rare, becomes a very real threat. He understands that an ancient catalyst is needed to awaken this power, but the information is too vague. Determination lights up in her eyes, because sooner or later she will have to face this power and learn to control it. In his hand ends up the very fragment of the rift that became the key to activating her hidden potential. He decides to lie to protect her, hiding the true value and danger of this ancient artifact. She feels an energy in the crystal that is painfully similar to her own phoenix, and anxiety grips her heart. Suddenly, her pet reaches out to the fragment, as if recognizing in it the missing part of his soul. An unknown force bursts out, and at the last moment he manages to create a protective barrier. The rift fragment awakens a new, fiery form within the phoenix, raising it to rank 3. Delight at the incredible power of your pet gives way to anxiety at the sight of his wild, indomitable nature. His promise to help in the next evolution sounds like a vow he dare not break. Suddenly reality is distorted, and they find themselves trapped, not understanding what happened. A stern reprimand from the administrator and a huge bill for the destruction become a cold shower after the euphoria. Losing all his money makes him realize the harsh reality. Without money, he is nobody in this world. News of his enemy's capture by the police reaches the leader of Symbiosis, but he is unmoved. A new question arises before him, because now he needs to decide what to do with the captured artifact. With cold calculation, he orders his team to lie low, waiting for the right moment to strike. He knows that sooner or later they will come for him themselves, and then he will set his final trap. Virtual battles become the only way for him to earn money, and at the same time become stronger. Even a short break throws his ranking back, reminding him of the fierce competition. He decides not to hold back any longer, setting his sights on a rapid breakthrough to the next level. Each victory over a weak opponent only slightly raises him in the endless list of players. His Ice Maiden crushes enemies with ease, but it's not enough for a real breakthrough. Even the most terrifying monsters become just steps on his path to his cherished goal. Suddenly he faces a top 10 player and the air fills with the anticipation of a real battle. The arrogant opponent respectfully acknowledges his strength, but sees him as no real threat. With a grin, he promises to break his winning streak, leaving him no chance. His mockery of the little Ice Maiden becomes a fatal mistake, awakening hidden rage within her. He tenderly praises his Ice Maiden, proud of her strength, which can crush any equal opponent. The endless battles had finally borne fruit, and now her evolution was only a matter of time and resources. A flash of insight brings not only rewards for achievement, but also an understanding of one's growing power. His resolve grows stronger, and he vows to buy everything he needs to strengthen his faithful companion tomorrow. The bright and daring head of the Dragon Heart Club appears in the library, and her gaze is already searching for a new target. The unexpected offer of an alliance for the next test sounds like a lifeline. Guo Xinyi happily accepts the offer, as loneliness in this academy is tantamount to death. The new team is almost assembled, but it still lacks its main, strongest player. The flirtatious remark reveals her true interest, as her real target is the legendary rookie. With a gleam in her eyes, she acknowledges his strength, as rumors of his exploits have already spread throughout the academy.